Hello and welcome to yet another video. This is the 5th episode in which the Hokage and the ANBU commander observe Naruto's use of shadow clones that night. The commander recruits the newly graduated Naruto for his forces by guilt-tripping the Hokage. Join Naruto as he becomes Team Ro's 4th member and discover what this means for Naruto's plot. This story is from Theraku 260, please support her. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Let's get the show started. Early next morning, Hikaru's apartment. A muscled blur barged through the door, intent on showing 3 young men the meaning of youth. The blur stepped around the colony of cockroaches in the doorway. It carefully avoided the kunai traps. Odd, my youthful neighbor Naruto never has any traps up. Truly, Hikaru is the picture of youth to be so prepared. I must reward him with his very own youth suit. The blur had avoided all this and more, and was at a crossroads, 2 rooms opposite of each other. Which one to open first? Deciding since left was his most youthful new neighbor Deidara, who would appreciate being picked first, the blur kicked the door in. And this his most grievous mistake was made. Might Guy, esteemed jonin of Konoha, had walked right into a lion's den. Several hours later, Naruto stumbled out of bed and towards the kitchen at the smell of tea while wiping bleary eyes away. The blonde had spent the majority of the night before sparring with Ro in the forest of death. Leaping through the infested trees while avoiding bombs, roots, and jutsu was exhilarating, if not exhausting. Chibi Kohai, bring your senpai some coffee would ya? Hikaru's voice called after Naruto when he reached the door. And milk. Angel agreed. Naruto rolled his heavy-lidded eyes and put his hand near the handle but stopped. A single cockroach was perched on the knob and bowed to him. Senpai, your roach bowed to me. I am officially going crazy. Naruto said bluntly. Hikaru scoffed in the background. Baka, my pets are highly trained, bowing is the least of their abilities. Now, coffee. Get it yourself, lazy ass. The young ANBU shot back and flicked the roach away with a finger. Angel, I'll bring your milk, just stay still and let your ribs heal after that last kick. He added. Angel had improved to the point of fighting genin was child's play, but Tenzo kicked harder than most jonin, much less genin. While at her maximum size she was flung effortlessly 30 feet after meeting the captain's foot. Ignoring the rustle of unhappy Hyuga and roaches, Naruto stepped into the hallway. He smirked when he heard a bed sheet being dragged along, signaling Hikaru was begrudgingly following. Stepping into the kitchen stopped the pair cold. There was Deidara sipping on hot chocolate with his pinky sticking out. Next to him on the ground by the chair was Guy. Wrapped in a clay centipede and gagged with his leg warmers. And he looked positively terrified of Deidara. Ah, fishcake, roach team, come and join me for some morning tea and cocoa. Deidara said when he noticed the pair and gave them an all too innocent smile. But Naruto tried but failed to speak, instead opting to point at the bound jonin. Oh, him? Well, the fool thought waking me up at 4 am was a good idea. Here kick from Deidara connected with Guy's stomach, and I simply had to show him why that was not. Hell hath no fury like a kunoichi scorned, Hikaru finally quipped once his voice returned. The Hyuga found himself bound right along Guy before he could blink. Deidara turned towards the last standing member of the living room and asked in a voice that could have frozen a volcano, now, fishcake, care to join them on the ground or me for some cocoa? Naruto gulped. I'd love some hot chocolate. The two sat in compensable silence while futile struggles came from below. Just a quick question though, how did you use your clay animals if I resealed your chakra last night? Some questions are better left unasked, Naruto, Deidara replied sagely. With a sweat drop and mental promise to speak to Dragon about it later, he nodded and took another sip of his hot chocolate. Later. When Dragon went to the training grounds, Guy was supposed to be working his three youngest ANBU to the bone, and he was rather puzzled by the lack of said ANBU and Guy. Resummoning his crow assigned to Mouse, Dragon asked, "Where's my ANBU? They should have been here at 4, it's 10. Mouse is due for another session with his chains." The crow gave him a dull look. "You should really stop stalking your subordinates, you know. They're all at that idiot Hyuga's apartment. Anything else, or can I go home?" No, you may go. Thank you, Ryo. I'll summon you again later." When the commander arrived to where his subordinates were supposedly, he didn't know whether to chuckle or punish them for skipping out on his extra training. He decided on both. "So my underlings decided to waste the day away so close to the exams, eh?" he said, putting on his Tenzo impersonation. It worked as everyone gulped, even Guy, who was currently being used as Daidara's footstool. "Well, it's nice to see you all have some relaxation." "Really?" Naruto asked hopefully. "Of course not. Now, prepare to entertain me." Orochimaru's lair, Rice. Orochimaru, renowned sannin and researcher, was throwing a tantrum. "Arg!" he roared while ripping the heads off his cannon fodder experiments. A foolish one-armed man takes a kunai off his dead friend and charges at Orochimaru, who spares him not a glance as his arm points at him. Striking shadow hands, the sannin hissed and enjoyed the sound of the fool's neck snapping. The sound four were huddled on the ceiling while their leader raged. So far, after 2 hours and 100 people, the prospects were not great. Orochimaru heaved heavily over the carnage when more than 200 bodies lay across his arena. "Kabuto, my best agent and scientist. Dead, all for a pitiful scroll. I really didn't need to beat Sarutobi-sensei. Stupid. Even his team died in a futile attack on my sensei. At least they died before they interrogated them, if these reports are to be believed." Unaware that his plan was known by the enemy and that Kabuto died for less than nothing, he began formulating new plans. "I don't need the scroll, and it's no doubt been moved to one of the ANBU record towers, if protocol is the same. No, that idiot Jiraiya is there. I need that jutsu just in case. But who? Sneaking in is impossible. But a frontal assault could work, as the majority of ANBU will be focused on the incoming genin. Kukukuk, this could still work. Kimimaro. Take Guran and 3 of the missing ninja teams to Konoha. I want that jutsu." Kimimaro appeared from nowhere and passed his master a towel. "It will be done, Orochimaru-sama. Though, where would the Konoha trash have put it? Cuckoo. I have an idea as to where my old sensei is keeping my prize. Gather the forces and I'll debrief them soon." "Very well, but sneaking in will be a challenge." "Oh, I'll give them something else to worry about and keep them off your backs." "No, go." With a bow Kimimaro left. "Well? You're my guards. Get down here and clean this filth up." He hissed and slithered to his lab. Soon I'll have Sasuke and Konoha will fall. Damn it, Kabuto. I'll have to revive you for the invasion. Oh well, an immortal assistant might not be so bad, Kukuku. And with that the snake Sannin began preparing a slightly early trip to his old home. Next afternoon, Hokage Tower. Naruto and Angel paced the hallway anxiously. Even clad in his ANBU uniform and mask, which always gives a sort of confidence, Naruto was nervous. The meeting to decide Yakumo's fate would be soon after another meeting wrapped up, and Naruto had to make this perfect. Yakumo deserved it. "Mouse, calm down, you look like a new dad waiting for their wife to give birth," Hawk signed. The captain and his squad were on tower duty for the day and found Naruto's actions rather amusing. "Yeah, Naruto. Yakumo-chan wouldn't want to see you like this," Angel purred from atop his head. "Quit it, your worrying is making me sick," Kurama growled grumpily. The blonde gave mental eye roll at his tenant. Look, I already promised I wouldn't use the chains on you. What more do you want? Go away. Kurama said after a moment. Naruto sighed, wishing his friend would stop sulking over something so silly. He realized he was still pacing and stopped sheepishly. Why, you're right, both of you. He began, remembering the conversation moments before, but, I can't screw this up. Not for Yakumo-chan, not after what she's been through. Oh ho! Gaki has a little girlfriend? An amused voice speaks from behind. Naruto whips around, causing Angel to claw into the top of his mask to hang on. Jiraiya-sama. It's not like that, she's just a lot like me and I don't want to see her hurt more. Naruto trailed off in a mumble. The Toad Sage hid a smirk and poked his mask's forehead. Suyer. Keep telling yourself that. Let's go see Sensei and get this over with. Putting his godson in a headlock, Jiraiya dragged them inside despite the protests of both Hawk and Naruto. Sensei. We're here for the meeting. Jiraiya trailed off. Inside was every Jonin sensei sniggering at the sight. Kakashi even snapped a quick picture. Sarutobi gave a deep sigh at his students' antics and Naruto prayed he'd be exempt from blame for this. Oh mouse, an almost creepy-sounding sign signaled him from the rafters. Ro was on room duty for the day as well, in fact the blonde would be joining them after the meeting. Naruto froze when his captain's masked face and hands alone appeared from the shadows, illuminated somehow like a ghoul. Yes, Captain? You interrupted the meeting in your uniform, making Ro look bad. But Jiraiya isn't in Ro, and as suddenly as he appeared, Tenzo was gone. Most of the Jonin were too busy sniggering at Jiraiya's interruption to notice, but Jiraiya did. The Toad Sage decided then and there he needed to get Naruto's captain laid. Akam, I'm thrilled that you are ecstatic for our discussion, Jiraiya, but kindly be quiet while I finish here. Sarutobi gave a light glare. Jiraiya gave a sheepish nod and waded through the crowd to wait next to his sensei, depositing Naruto in a heap on the ground. Snigger, how does Naruto put up with him? One Jonin asked another. I know, the legendary Jiraiya-sama. What a joke, another added. Naruto? Moments before, Iruka. Iruka glared at the Sannin and blonde ANBU that cut off his triad about allowing Genin less than a year out of the academy into the exams. Sure, he knew about the plan for Team 7 and 8, but letting Team 10 who had very little extra training join was ludicrous. After the Hokage chewed them out, Iruka was about to redouble his efforts to at least make Team 10 drop out when he heard it. Snigger, how does Naruto put up with him? One Jonin asked another. I know, the legendary Jiraiya-sama. What a joke, another added. Naruto? But surely not, he's a paper pusher ninja. Wait, blonde hair, barely 5'2". Naruto. Naruto? Asked/demanded at the pint-sized ANBU who was currently dusting himself off. At the slight flinch, Iruka had his suspicions confirmed. The room tensed, as did the ANBU above. Most ANBU had their identities hidden from every chunin and below, except family, of course, and they had been informed by the Hokage to keep extra silent on the Jinchuriki being in the core. Hey, Iruka-sensei. Naruto chuckled and gave an awkward wave. Iruka wanted to protest, say hi to his student he hasn't seen in months, or just wave, but he couldn't. Akam. Since no other teams wished to partake in the exams, everyone but Jiraiya, Mouse, Kurenai, and Iruka are dismissed. Asuma, your team is included in the participating ones. Make Konoha proud. Sarutobi ordered. Asuma gave a stiff nod and used a shunshin to leave. Moments after everyone else was gone except the ANBU observers, the door opened again to the elders, Koharu and Hamura, walking in. Iruka, Sarutobi said sharply and the chunin snapped to attention. Yes, Hokage-sama. We will discuss your questions later, and I'll send Mouse to find you for dinner. I don't think I need to remind you about the ANBU identity rules. And no. Hokage-sama. With a bow the chunin rushed out the door. Hiruzen, we just received your notice about the Kurama girl, what's happened? Koharu asked a bit frantic. She didn't want to think about the seal breaking. Sarutobi gestured to Naruto, who cleared his throat while unsealing a folder. The Hokage only knew about the subject, not about the why for the gathering. I've come to convince you all to let me unseal Yakumo Kurama and let her face her ID, essentially merging with it. A pin drop could be heard. What? Was Kurenai's intelligent comment. Koharu and Hamura nodded in agreement with the jonin. Only you, Naruto. Hiruzen Sarutobi groaned. Let's hear it. Naruto rubbed the back of his head nervously when his leader sighed. Kurenai kept gaping in a manner not unlike a fish while a quiet snort could be heard from the rafters. Hikaru, the blonde groaned mentally. Of course his senpai would find amusement in the situation. Pushing those thoughts aside, Naruto straightened up, clearing his throat. Yes, well, the reasoning is quite simple. Miss Kurama's containment seal on her powers that doubles as a chakra suppressant is slowly eating away at her psyche, resulting in her ID gaining ground. Hold on, how do you even know this? Koharu asked the blonde ANBU pointedly before turning to Sarutobi. I don't recall giving the Jinchuriki the clearance to any files relating to Yakumo Kurama, Hiruzen. The Hokage gave a quick and silent glare to his former teammate while Jiraiya was more vocal. Can it, you old coot? You can't talk about my godson like he's an object. The Sannin took a breath to launch into a second triad, but the Hokage's raised hand stilled him. Calm yourself, Jiraiya. While Koharu would do well to remember Naruto's status isn't all he is, I too wonder how he came to know this. All eyes turned to the youngest in the room besides Angel, who was holding her breath. Yakumo and Kurama, my tenant, told me, he said. Flinches appeared in Koharu and Hamura at yet another reminder of the Biju's link to the Jinchuriki while Kurenai blinked. Naruto, your tenant knows about IDs? She asked. Naruto nodded. Yes. He's the one who informed me of what will happen if we leave the seal on. And? Sarutobi prompted. He wasn't fool enough to believe he made the right choice with Yakumo, but at the time it had seemed to be the only choice. Originally Jiraiya would have performed the ritual of the Kurama girl with Kurenai being there for support. But he was unreachable at the time and the Genjutsu clan had been calling for the heiress's extermination or containment. Kakashi would have been the next choice, but the one-eyed jonin had been on a long-term rank mission in IWA territory, stopping a smuggling ring set up by Inoki to channel drugs into Konoha. He hadn't returned until 3 months prior to Naruto's disastrous graduation. Finally, the buck should have stopped with the Hokage, but he justified letting Kurenai do the ritual as having an old man do the sealing on a technically civilian girl and heiress would have been less than appropriate had word gotten out. He had meant to check on the poor girl's seal months ago, but like many things it became easier to just believe that since nothing was immediately wrong he could afford to put it off. Naruto cleared his throat at his leader, who looked lost in thought before answering. Within 6 months Miss Kurama's seal containing the ID will break and allow that part of her mind to take over for a brief time. After the surge of power and chaotic release of her abilities, she will fall into a never-ending coma, essentially becoming brain dead. Why don't we just reseal it? Hamura cut in. Naruto resisted a snort and settled on a long sigh. Because that would just delay the problem, Hamura-sama. Sure, a better seal done by Jiraiya-sama or even myself would hold strong for a couple of years, eventually it would break. If we keep reapplying one she would deteriorate more and more. However, taking the seal off completely and guiding her to face what is essentially her darkness would grant her safe access to her abilities once more. Miss Kurama would be able to utilize her abilities in combat even. Naruto trailed off, still feeling odd about the situation. When he had informed Dragon-sama and Hokage-sama about him defeating his inner darkness, the blonde ANBU had ended up being scolded for his reckless decision to follow a Biju's advice and go off into the woods alone to battle half of his mind. Now here he was, recommending an almost identical process to one of the village's dark secrets. Silence greeted Naruto's proposal. The seal she has now is shoddy. I'm offended that anyone would think it would be adequate to contain a kitten. Here he petted a huffing angel who seemed to think he was referring to her. Much less an ID. It's so weak that while I was on Miss Kurama's protection detail its presence could be sensed during the full moon. It was as foul as any Biju's chakra. Now, imagine that instead of being stored away in the mountains like an unwanted disease, Miss Kurama could become a Genjutsu Kunoichi specialist. But Yakumo is weak physically. Even if she did manage to overcome her powers, she would never make it in the field, Kurenai insisted fervently. Naruto let out an irritated sigh. Really? Because Yakumo-chan isn't as weak as you say she is, Naruto spat, forgetting to say, Miss Kurama, in his heat. In fact, Yakumo-chan is strong in her own way and with training she'd become a great kunoichi. Just because she isn't as physically strong as most shinobi doesn't mean she's worthless. I call her for ANBU. Dragon's voice resonates from a corner before the enigma of a commander appears, amusement in his tone. ANBU. They have the highest death rates. Do you want her to be killed? Kurenai asked incredulously. Naruto jumped at the opening. Oh, like how her seal is killing her? Besides, ANBU isn't a suicide core like the chunin gossip it to be. Jonin should know better than to spout lies. ANBU die less often chunin and genin squads and rarely ever do suicidal missions. We haven't been the worst in shinobi safety since before the Uchiha massacre, Naruto defended. Really, he was sick of everyone thinking ANBU was a shinobi's grave. Their killed-in-action rates had plummeted in the last 5 years and different squads focused on different areas of the shinobi world. But they're gruesome, just look at Kakashi. He's screwed in the head from his tenure in the Black Ops. She interjected. No more so than your squad, Kurenai, Dragon said lightly. A Hyuga who can't bring herself to harm others, and an Inazuka too brash and loud for any tracking squad, not to mention an Aburame who just can't give a damn half the time. You've had almost 8 months with them but none of them could make a chunin sweat, nor are they ready for the position, not with their issues. I keep my men alive if a bit insane, in the field by drilling teamwork and playing to their strengths. Your squad can't even catch Tora without a fight breaking out and new scars. To be fair to the lovely Kurenai, Tora is a demon cat. The thing can now water walk and wall walk. There's even talk that it can use a genjutsu. Jiraiya said. If I ever find out who taught that blasted cat how to be a ninja I'll assign them D ranks until the day I retire, Sarutobi muttered, fed up with the extra paperwork it caused now that the cat had a tactical advantage amongst the majority of genin squads. No one but Dragon and Ro noticed Naruto's slight stiffening and beads of sweat running down his neck. Angel stifled a chuckle. She knew teaching Tora the false surroundings genjutsu would be worth it, and it was whenever screams of genin echoed through the village as they walked right into a wall or into the wrong restroom. Tora's superpowers aside, don't you agree, Mouse, that Yakumo would make a fabulous ANBU? Dragon sounded casual, but Naruto knew, to keep his involvement with Tora secret he'd have to agree, even if secretly he thought Yakumo would be better at the political-type missions, not Black Ops, regardless of what he told Kurenai. Ah, yes, Dragon-sama. ANBU is perfect for everyone, Naruto agreed blandly. Dragon gave a triumphant gesture to the Hokage. See? Mouse agrees with me. So, when are we ripping the seal off? Enough. Sarutobi rubbed his temples. Of course his ANBU commander and soon-to-be successor was trying to nab yet another potentially S-class operative. He'd deal with that later, but for now he had to decide on another of his mistakes' fate. First, walk me through the process, Jiraiya. You will be the final word on if this can work or not. And Kurenai? The young Jonin looked her leader in the eye, unflinching. We'll discuss your sealing practices after I see how badly it went. Though it was ultimately his fault, Sarutobi had to have his shinobi be honest with their skills. If Kurenai wasn't advanced enough to seal away Yakumo's powers, she should have said so, not assure him for weeks afterwards that it was a perfectly capable seal and that he needn't worry. Hi, Hokage-sama, the kunoichi replied. Several hours later, late afternoon. Thank you, Mouse, your squad is released from duty now, so go join them, just be sure to find Iruka. Sarutobi dismissed after another 4 hours of heated discussion took place. As you wish, Hokage-sama. Naruto bowed and used a shunshin to leave, his squad following suit. By then it was only Sarutobi, Dragon, and Jiraiya left in the room. Once a moment passed, Jiraiya let out a chuckle. Damn, Gaki is good. He kept Kurenai on her toes with his passive-aggressive jabs. And his proposal, I still can't find anything wrong with it. The Sannin admitted. Dragon huffed. I still don't see why we can't do this before the exams. Because I don't need Naruto by her side worrying about her recovery, or unable to function if the worst should happen and Yakumo must be put down. The chance was small but still there. If the ID proved too strong and possessed her, they would have to do the extreme. Mouse is strong, and so is the Kurama girl. She started sneaking out in an attempt to make it to the village for midnight ramen runs, and she almost made it last night. Mouse has created a fellow addict, Dragon chuckled. Please don't remind me. I observed them the other day through my ball. She ate 10 bowls. 10. Dropping his face into his hand, Hiruzen Sarutobi felt a sense of dread at the thought of the two creating little genjutsu-wielding, ramen-loving, Uzumaki chakra chain-wielding monsters. Not to mention the prank the two played on Ferret, he's sworn revenge on Mouse at the next poker game. Dragon added. Just a couple of months left, you can do this, Hiruzen. Then it's sweet retirement. Sarutobi chanted to himself. Jiraiya balked. Sensei. You're retiring? He asked. Sarutobi nodded. Well then, I guess I need to go get Tsunade, eh? The sage asked. Last time this conversation had come up 7 years ago, he had expressed interest in Tsunade taking the hat. However, when the Hokage shook his head, he frowned. Not her? Then who? Kakashi? No, I'll be the one in charge of scaring the shinobi into obeying, the ANBU commander replied. Jiraiya looked at his sensei. He looked at the brat who even he couldn't figure out the identity of. Giving a keen look and lecherous grin, he asked his soon-to-be boss. So, perhaps you'd see the value in opening a mixed bathing house? A kick that sent him out the window was his answer. With Naruto. And that's why I think we should get sushi. Angel finished passionately. Naruto shook his head as they traveled side by side on the roofs towards Iruka's apartment. After Tenzo had assigned him corner duty for a week and reminded him that insulting a jonin to their face, subtle or not, was a good idea, he was let off for the evening as long as he was careful of the 2 IWA teams that had arrived. One had a close-range sensor, as a sensei that Deidara deduced could tell he was a Jinchuriki. While they were in the village, ANBU would contain them to the visitor sections while Naruto would keep away from the Jonin senseis during the actual exams, not that that would be difficult seeing as Ro would be in the forest and following Kakashi's team, until the IWA team was either disqualified or killed. Ibiki had been ordered to be especially sadistic towards the foreign squads to knock as many as possible out. No, sushi's expensive and we are saving up for armor for you. I won't have your ribs getting smashed in the middle of a fight anymore. Not to mention Hikaru keeps borrowing money for rent. Besides, ramen is better and we get more of it for less money. The blonde retorted. Now hush, we're here. Clad in his off-duty gear with a henge to make him brown-haired and black-eyed, Naruto stepped into his favorite childhood location. Tsuchi glanced at him when he entered, eyes lighting up in recognition. The old ramen maker was familiar with this particular disguise and wasn't fooled for a second. "Ah, Naruto, welcome. Here for some more ramen? Is this elusive girl you keep telling me about craving the heavenly broth?" Tsuchi joked. Naruto chuckled at Yakumo's habit no matter how much she denied it. "No, not for her, but for Iruka-sensei. I'm taking some over to his house, so can I have my usual to go, Angel's usual of 3 fish cake boxes, and Iruka's usual? Coming right up, though it will take a while since I am's off for the day. And it's about time you visited the man. He started looking at my ramen like a lost puppy." Tsuchi bellowed a laugh while straining the noodles. "He's been avoiding him," Angel quipped, only to be bonked on her head by a twitching Naruto. "I have not, Angel. I've been worked to the bone with paperwork," he finished lamely, stopping short of revealing his status to a civilian. Angel sniggered at his cover-up. "Sure you were. Keep it up and Dragon-sama might actually give you his paperwork." Naruto paled at the evil notion. "Don't even joke about such horrors," the ANBU gasped and sagged dramatically. The Hellcat's sweat dropped at the overdramatism. Barrier room, east side of Konoha. Guran stared impassively at the remains of the Konoha scum in the way of her master's goals. She didn't particularly like murder, but Orochimaru-sama was her world. She'd do anything for him. "Guran-sama." A grunt stood by the side, avoiding the crystal spikes sticking out of the ground and bodies. Squads 2 and 4 completed their goal. 5 through 7 are on standby. And Squad 3? What of the Kurama girl? Orochimaru wishes her alive for study. About that. He began nervously, his scratched Kumo headband on his neck becoming a place to dip his head into. Back with Naruto. Naruto held his breath while his knuckles rapped on the wooden door. His sensei lived in the single chunin apartment building, close to the academy. Before the blonde could count to 3, the apartment door flung open to a wide-eyed Iruka. "Naruto," the chunin breathed. Both looked awkward, as it had been months since they'd seen each other and the first time Iruka had the full picture what Naruto had actually been doing since graduation. "Hey, Iruka-sensei. Up for some food?" The masked boy inquired while holding up a scroll containing the ramen. Sure. Come in." The older male led Naruto and Angel into the kitchen, sitting down at the low table. The two stared each other down. Naruto hadn't been here since his last year at the academy, when Iruka had let him stay the weekend while his apartment was pieced back together in the days following his 12th birthday. "So. ANBU?" "Yeah." Naruto unsealed various bowls, dividing it up and giving his partner her food first. "What's it like?" Iruka asked, accepting a steaming pork bowl. "Insane," Naruto blurted immediately, then did a mental facepalm. "But amazing," he amended. "My squad, they're the family I never had. Even Hikaru," he muttered, careful not to mention last names, even if Hikaru was a common name in all clans. Iruka perked up at this. "Hikaru? Is he on your squad? Is he a good influence?" Angel snorted and Naruto thought about how much he should admit, deciding the truth would better when the inevitable happened and Hikaru met Iruka. "Absolutely not," Naruto said with abandon, causing Iruka's mouth to drop. "Well, as long as you don't follow his example." Awkward silence filled the air again before Naruto spotted a towering stack of papers. "Want some help grading?" he said while pointing to the leaning tower of paper. The chunin sensei looked relieved at the distraction. "Yes, that'd be great. And you can tell me the full story, especially how you gained a Hellcat partner." Angel looked up amusedly. "It all started with burning my jumpsuits," Naruto began. "Hikaru had started a ritual-like dance while he poured more alcohol on them. Why is the Hokage's grandson failing village history? Naruto asked. Iruka rubbed the bridge of his nose in exasperation. That boy is much like you used to be but without the work ethic. He needs a role model. Well, as long as the brat stays away from me. I've been assigned his protection detail once and it was once too many. Iruka's sweat dropped. That bad? Worse. Shikaku. Kurama roared inside the seal abruptly. Naruto reeled in surprise and Iruka looked concerned. Kurama. How far out? 1 day. That little prick of a sandbox will be here by noon tomorrow. Naruto, let me rip him apart. We can't. You'll get your chance soon. Why are you so bloodthirsty all of a sudden? You didn't care about him for the past several months. His chakra makes me rage. Always spouting off how I'm not the best and how all Biju are equal. Bah, pathetic sand dog. You can be a real egotistical prick, you know that? You're just jealous since you suck at your chains. Shut it, fur ball. But if we want to beat him we'll need to work together again, okay? A pregnant pause followed. Please. I'll not use the chains on you but I need my friend back. Fine. But you have to use those blasted things on Shikaku. I won't let him mock me for being sealed by them, let's see how he likes it. The fox let out a sadistic chuckle and Naruto vowed to find any hobby other than revenge for his furry friend to focus on. Perhaps jokes would do? Naruto? You spaced out, what's wrong? Naruto blinked at his former sensei, realizing he had been in his head too long. ANBU business. I have to leave now, sorry. Naruto said apologetically before turning. Angel. Protocol Ichi is a go. Angel gave a serious nod as they shine towards the Hokage tower, leaving behind a confused Iruka and several empty bowls. Iruka puzzled at the sight, wondering when his old student had managed to slip them into his mouth without removing his mask. Hokage Tower, less than 5 minutes later, with Naruto. Naruto crouched in front of the village leader and ANBU commander who were in a meeting. He had used his ANBU tattoo to bypass the security, appearing in the middle of the room. Hokage-sama, Dragon-sama, Project Ichi is a go, Kurama senses soon as Jinchuriki less than a day out. Naruto panted from the run. Yes, I know, and 4 days sooner than scheduled, that means my wayward pupil could be arriving at any moment. Go to your team, Naruto. Ro is to follow Sasuke Uchiha until the first exam starts before resuming the original schedule. Hokage-sama. A frantic chunin burst through the door before Naruto could leave. The barrier squad on duty near the eastern sector was found dead. Sarutobi took in a deep breath and attempted to restore order, only to be interrupted by an ANBU with a carp mask arriving in a deep bow, armor torn with blood speck. Dragon-sama, the maximum security prison was attacked by 5 missing shinobi, allowing for the prisoners to escape. Dragon-sama. Ferret panted as he arrived with an unconscious Yakumo. 2 missing ninja attacked my post, killing the medic Nin before I sliced their throats. Yakumo Kurama is relatively unharmed. Naruto's world narrowed as he gazed at Yakumo, a small cut on her cheek as she slept in a troubled manner. Hey! Dragon's voice brought Naruto from the beginnings of panic at seeing his friend unconscious. The girl is fine, focus. Yes, Dragon-sama. He sputtered. His shoulder burned as a mass message was sent from a grim-faced Hiruzen Sarutobi using a seal on his desk. All ANBU report to HQ with squads. All reserve ANBU, report to Hokage Tower. A prison break has occurred and multiple foreign hostiles have been spotted. Be wary of attack and inform any chunin or above to move to lockdown. Now you all faces turn towards the Hokage, whose eyes bore into the chunin who had given the barrier report. Tell me everything. Dragon. You have military command. Naruto. Send clones to get the council and join your team. Yes, Hokage-sama. And any prisoners or hostiles we come across? Here the Hokage's eyes hardened. Make them hurt, Naruto, death alone is too good for them. Right. And in a silent bow Naruto left to catch his team to participate in what would become one of Konoha's darkest nights. Rooftops of Konoha, with Naruto and Angel. Two figures streaked across the tiled roofs of Konoha, one an undersized ANBU and the other an oversized cat. Chakra pulsed through their legs and eyes were razor sharp. Around them the roofs were filled with other shinobi, each headed towards their own assignments. The swarms of shinobi thickened as Naruto and Angel reached the far side of the village, towards the forest surrounding the prison. Already the blonde could feel the dark aura of hostiles, his senses augmented to the max by a bloodthirsty Kurama. The fox was itching for battles. For familiar chakra signatures enveloped around the pair as the rest of Ro joined in, Tenzo taking point. Yugao and Deidara were flanking left and right while Hikaru took the back, Byakugan no doubt active at intervals. Mouse, we're assigned the furthest sector to catch any runners and the perpetrators. Tenzo signed quickly turning to face the team. Naruto nodded in affirmation and moved towards the back with Hikaru while Angel took to the branches above. Captain, capture plan? Naruto signed, coughing to get Tenzo's attention once more. The Hokage mentioned killing and making them hurt, but he had 20 prisoner scrolls just in case. Yugao answered with a blunt remark. For prisoners, try to capture unless deemed too dangerous. For the attackers, no survivors unless they surrender when we find them. Prisoner scrolls that wouldn't be used, apparently, as more than likely the criminals would attempt to fight back. Understood, senpai. He dutifully replied. Just then Hikaru clicks to draw attention and signs. 6 hostiles, 300 meters to the left on the ground, fleeing in our direction. 4 more on the right converging towards us. Without prompting the 5 ANBU and Hellcat jump higher into the canopy. Moments later the two groups Hikaru had seen meet up in the middle, amongst a small break of the dense foliage. Naruto strained his eyes as the full moon dipped behind clouds. He could make out the various forms of the 10, the group of 6 containing 2 mountainous men. On my signal, Mouse, Tenzo signed when the moonlight returned and Naruto instantly produced 25 clones of various ANBU masks to hopefully intimidate them into surrendering. Tenzo gave the mark and as one row landed in a circle enclosing the startled criminals. You have broken out of Konoha's prison in a futile attempt at freedom, surrender or die, Tenzo said monotonously, like he didn't care one way or the other. Several of the prisoners looked intimidated by the show of force and tone, and 2 started raising their hands in surrender. Until a familiar silver-haired prisoner spoke up in a soothing voice. Fujin, Rai, remember that Orochimaru-sama has an endless supply of food waiting for you. Food. The 2 now identified giants groan. Yes. Food. But first you must take down these pesky ANBU who would take away your food. Mizuki pointed to the trees. The brothers saw red and roared. No, take our food. Brother. The slightly bigger one shouts and they charge, uprooting the tree Tenzo was in and swinging around. In the chaos, several clones popped, and the once frightened prisoners gained angry expressions. Hey! That their ANBU was just a clone. One, a man with an eye patch and missing teeth, shouted. A woman next to him sneered. Yeah, let's take M, I bet there's only 1 or 2, and I used to be an IWA chunin. We can take then. She boldly declared and the rest of the group charged at Ro, who were by then hopping to various trees. Naruto kicked a branch flying near him away and followed a nervous-looking Hikaru to another tree. Tenzo and Yugao were busy, 7 of the prisoners ganging up on them and Deidara above them. Shit. Shit, shit, shit. It had to be them. Hikaru cursed. At your 6. Naruto tilted his head as he made two chains to wrap around the eye-patched idiot who had split off from the attack on Tenzo and Yugao, trying to sneak a sword jab at the blonde's skull. Naruto decapitated the man with his sword cleanly. Those brothers, Fujin and Rai, are infamous for being almost as strong as Tsunade-sama. They killed their teammates for food right before I made Jonin. Their capture was what led to my promotion, but damn were they horrible to take down. The Hyuga explained. So how do we take them out, Deidara inquired, clay bombs bombarding the brothers to no effect. He couldn't resort to more artistic ones in the forest though. Because they're coming for us now, he deadpanned and pointed to the two giants jumping up with raised fists. The trio of young ANBU dodged the attacks. In the air as they spun to land safely, Hikaru spoke his plan. Chibi Kohai, I've seen you make a ton of chains before. Channel Kurama and strengthen them, binding them to the trees or ground. Pyro Kohai? He looked at Deidara as they landed near an irritated Tenzo who was kicking two of the escapees away. Deidara turned his mask. After I block some of their pressure points, blow them to pieces, and we'll put out the fire afterwards. Truth was Hikaru wouldn't take the chance of anyone getting hurt by the bastards that killed one of his genin teammates before Hikaru could take them out, mostly due to their orders to capture alive and them drawing the battle out. They needed to die, as there wasn't any way to control them, not with their leader of sorts that promised them food already escaping according to his Byakugan. No, Hikaru decided, they'd take out the brothers before chasing down Mizuki and Angel, who was on his tail. With pleasure, Deidara cheekily responded. Naruto made the chains, but they were batted away. Hee hee. Brother, this is fun. Fujin clapped. Raijin gave a grin in response. Of course it's fun, Mizuki said this would be. Raijin said while taking a Rasengan with a finger and flicking Naruto away. Naruto, cursing, had 30 clones poof into existence and mob the brothers. This time the chains easily wrapped around the pair as they were slow juggernauts and were focused on the other blondes weighing them down. His eyes glowed red as Kurama let his chakra seep through slightly, turning the chains a sickly purple and strengthening them. Glad that idea worked, Naruto sighed in relief at Kurama. The fox huffed. Of course it worked, the great Kyubi said it would. My chakra augments your puny human chakra. Naruto had argued that Hikaru's plan would fail, but Kurama had vehemently argued it would work. Ignoring the boasting, Naruto focused on maintaining a struggling tangle of chains. Hikaru dived forward, gentle fists aimed for paralyzing points throughout the body, enough chakra in his palms to kill most normal shinobi. In a flurry the genius Hyuga hit 12 points on the brothers simultaneously, before jumping back a safe distance. Hee hee, that tickles, brother, Fujin giggled as various spots were hit, though with his size the meaty man was only partially paralyzed. These ropes are hurting me, let's throw them. And the massive man pushed against the chakra chains, before grabbing them, Raijin doing the same. They spun in a whirlwind, the chains becoming a purple and red tornado. Naruto yelped as his chains, and subsequently him, were yanked forward with such a force and he was flung through the air. Immediately Naruto summoned multiple clones that encased around their creator. As he landed into some tree tops amongst the clones, his first thought was, last time I'm letting Hikaru pick the plan. He groaned, already feeling his cracked rib healing. Inside Kurama snorted. Nice move there. It looks so great on you to be defeated by two numbskulls. Kurama mocked sarcastically. Naruto rolled his eyes as he jumped down gingerly, intent on making it back to Ro, who were bound to be nearby. Instantly, Kurama became serious. A vile chakra is near, charging right, KIT. Was the only warning Naruto got before crystals of various sizes erupted from the ground. A woman with a dull blue or purple ponytail sneered at the ANBU as he backflipped several times to escape the path of crystals. On her back was an all-too-familiar scroll. "I hope you give me a better fight than your comrades." The kunoichi mocked. "Their blood didn't sate me." She flared her suffocating killing intent and chakra, baring her teeth. Naruto ignored the mocking and stared at her through his mask with a mixture of determination and nervousness. "Kurama, I know, this one is powerful. Don't go easy. Or you'll die." "I know. Ready for one hell of a fight?" he asked his furry partner, vicious grin in place. Kurama sent a matching mental one back. "You know it, her strange abilities are nothing compared to the great Kurama. Crystal style, crystal needles," was all Naruto got before facing down a volley of pink crystals glistening as they raged towards him. "This is going to suck," Naruto muttered and prepared to use all his prowess to survive and retrieve the scroll, red cloak surrounding him. With Mizuki. Mizuki grinned evilly as he ran deep into the forest and away from the two idiots he tricked into stalling the ANBU Black Ops. "Soon I'll be in Otogakure with Orochimaru-sama. There I'll be recognized, not as an outcast but as a hero. Stupid demon brat, making me rot, I'll come back to kill him." And pain racked the traitor's body as life left him via enormous jaws wrapping around his jugular. "Ha, puny human that hurt Naruto. I hope the Shinigami eats your soul 1,000 times over." Angel spats down at the body of Mizuki. She knew who he was from Naruto, and killing the one who betrayed her partner was satisfying in a euphoric way. However, her satisfaction was short-lived as a burst of a familiar chakra filled her bones. Naruto, the young Hellcat, gasped and charged full speed in the direction of the chakra's origin, leaving a mutilated ex-chunin in an undignified heap on the forest floor. With Ro, Hikaru cursed himself as he not only felt his Kohai/best friend's chakra in a quick burst, but also grimly took out several shinobi with various headbands. Deidara was back-to-back with him, waves of various clay bombs creating holes where hearts used to be. His captain bound another 3 effortlessly. Dance of the Crescent Moon was called behind him and Hikaru's Byakugan witnessed 7 escapees being sliced to pieces. Fujin and Rai were among the now piles of dead, victims of Hikaru and Deidara unleashing an overkill of exploding shadow clones and a lightning-coated kunai. Hikaru rarely used his only chakra-conductive kunai, but seeing the monsters who threw his kohai half a mile away scream when the knife penetrated their skulls was well worth it, claims that he was cruel for it be damned. Wolf, fox, go get mouse and meat at Section 5B. Tenzo ordered as he ran through hand seals, summoning an earth tsunami that drowned 3 missing ninja. Hikaru nodded and the duo took off, Deidara creating a clay bird on the fly. With Kakashi. Kakashi was not in a forgiving mood. The squad of missing shinobi that lay dead at his feet were proof of that fact. 3 of the prisoners who had fled cowered near a large oak, their light garbs torn in multiple places. Kakashi sent them an eye smile radiating malice. "I don't suppose any of you are thinking of running, any?" the Cyclops Jonin asked. All 3 shook their heads furiously. No. A reed-like man stuttered. His portly friend started crying. "That's good to hear." Kakashi praised, "Now, how would you 3 like to march back to prison like the adorable criminals you are? We'd like to go back to our cells now." The 3 chorused as they started walking back towards the prison. Hayate coughed a chuckle from above as he followed them in the shadows. Kakashi watched them go before sending a flare in the air to signal his area was clear, then turned to the other member of his temporary squad. Genma, I think we're done here." Genma snorted as his leader attempted to take out a familiar orange book. "Nope, we're to head back and get another zone." Kakashi gave a long-suffering sigh but followed his comrade. However, the Cyclops became deadly serious when he felt it. Sending a quick prayer for Naruto's safety and a mental promise to chat with Tenzo about endangering his little brother once the ordeal was over, Kakashi picked up the pace. With Tenzo and Yugao. Moments after sending the younger members away, Tenzo focused on a spot in the trees. You can come out now. Hiding from a Byakugan is quite an accomplishment, especially for one so young and not raised with the clan. But hiding in a tree means I can see you. However, you should be proud, Sai. Stepping out of the shadows was a pale-faced boy, hands in the air and fake smile plastered on his face. At Tenzo's nod, Yugao used a shunshin behind the intruder, placing a kunai at his throat. Sai didn't even flinch. Tell me, what's a root agent such as yourself doing out at this time of night? Tenzo asked. Sai met his hidden gaze with unfeeling ones. I'm not here to speak with you, kitty, but with one above you. Who? Yugao demanded and pressed the kunai deeper, drawing a trickle of blood. That's enough, you two. I think my little spy has been spooked enough. A disembodied voice echoed from above. Back with Naruto. Akira hit a tree hard before dispelling back to the clan. Naruto had summoned his panthers and tigers to provide the backup, but his enemy was able to bat them away like flies. The last one standing, Hisoka, landed next to him in a crouch, silent question in the eyes. I know, Hisoka. It's those pesky crystals, they've even made a dome. Stand back for now. Naruto ordered and reached for two of his chakra-conductive kunai. Naruto darted forward in a zigzag-like pattern, summoning 100 clones that wove around him, creating a confusing mass so that the woman in front of him couldn't pick him out. That won't work, crystal style, tearing crystal falling dragon, she called after forming two hand seals. Rising from a tree and connecting to crystals in the area, a ferocious dragon roared, diving into the mass of ANBU clones. Naruto smirked from behind his mask as he vaulted off of a clone's shoulders. You know this is insane, right? Kurama commented. Naruto grunted. Yeah, just send me more chakra, Naruto shot back. Landing on the dragon's snout, three tails waved proudly in the night as Naruto dived the kunai into the eyes, hoping to disperse it like what happened to his water dragons. Instead, it just ticked the chakra beast off as the kunai became stuck and made crystals form on his shoes before he could jump away. Crystals continued growing until the blonde unbuckled them and tossed the shinobi sandals aside. He hit the tree opposite of the dragon and pushed off it, landing near the kunoichi. The crystal dragon curled tightly around the woman before shattering and reforming as two crystal spears. She smirked at the ANBU and made a "come at me" gesture. Naruto used 3 shunshins to appear before her, his sword pressing down with Kyubi-laced wind chakra. The crystals shattered and Naruto clicked his tongue when he managed to graze the woman's shoulder as she dodged. Tisk, TSK, those crystals can't handle some chakra? With Guran. Guran growled at the kid in front of her. She wasn't expecting the Kyubi Jinchuriki to be the one she had to fight. From what she knew of his kind, even a child was dangerous, if the bubbling on her shoulder was to be believed. She had to kill the brat now though, to let him live could spell trouble for Orochimaru-sama. The two combatants locked eyes, Naruto summoning a purplish Rasengan and Guran slamming her fists into the ground, crystals spiking out once more. Another crystal dragon flung the youngest ANBU up into the sky. Naruto grunted as instead of sky, he collided with a crystalline barrier. Falling back down, he made a hand sign, and 2 Biju augmented chains snaked around the dragon. Water style, hidden mist jutsu, Naruto said, creating a thick fog to cover the area. If only I hadn't followed Hikaru's plan, Naruto muttered while he made his way to the ground through the mist. I could still be with my team, but no, instead I'm fighting a psycho who has a fascination with razor-sharp jutsu-created crystals and can aim better than Hikaru. I don't even know when she had time to make this enclosure. Shut your whining mouth and finish this. And the female mortal created our prison while you were charging that Rasengan. Naruto's sweat dropped at the implied reprimand for not noticing and turned his attention back at Guran. Drawing another kunai, Naruto let a 4th tail of chakra erupt from his backside. By this point his muscles were burning and his stamina was running low. Kurama, any idea how to end this now? Her chakra is running low as well and that shoulder is festering. One more hit will end her, but we have 5 minutes until my chakra tears your muscles apart. Naruto nodded mentally and used his augmented limbs to jump high in the air, away from a mirror that appeared, just in time to avoid their attacks. However, in the air another mirror materialized above the blonde, the real Guran appearing. "Die, you brat," Guran breathed. Crystal style, shuriken wild dance, needles of crystals gathered around her and rocketed out at high speeds. Naruto spun, dodging the majority, but one flew in his blind spot and embedded itself into his abdomen. Jaya! Naruto screamed as pain engulfed him and Kurama's chakra receded, one of the seal's many safety measures kicking in. It was designed to give someone a means to subdue him if he lost control. Too bad Orochimaru's henchwoman stumbled upon this advantage. Falling, Naruto forced himself to stay conscious through the pain and yanked the shard out, his healing factor already beginning to heal the hole. He needed medical attention though, and soon. Managing to land upright behind a tree several meters from the real Guran, Naruto wrapped a bandage around his middle the way he learned, grateful for the field medic lessons he took. "Come out, little fox, I want to rip your mask away and see the fear in your eyes when I drain your life from you." Guran taunted confidently from where she herself had landed, the mist adding an echo to her voice. Naruto kept his breathing steady, aware that she too was tired and at this point it was a battle of who could summon one last attack. He had to make this count. The ANBU jumped up, crouching in a tree and watching Guran. Praying his plan worked, he shakily made the hand signs for an almost instant kill shot. If it hit. Wind style, drilling air bullets. Naruto summoned, before lurching as the ceiling came crashing down. With Guran. Guran mentally cursed herself for using as much chakra as she had. Using the last drops of her energy for the mirrors and crystal shuriken wasn't smart. Even as she taunted the brat, Guran couldn't back it up with action. She was down to one last jutsu before she collapsed and escaping with the scroll was more important than the Jinchuriki. Guran could just slaughter him during the invasion. Mind made up, she prepared a mirror to leave and grab the scroll from its hiding place, when she felt chakra gathering above her. Wind style, drilling air bullets, was called as the world shook, her crystal barrier crumbling from above. Back outside the dome, moments earlier. Hikaru cursed when he heard the voice of Jiraiya. Many people assumed Hikaru was a happy-go-lucky idiot, one who got along with everyone. While he wouldn't deny he enjoyed being light-hearted, Hikaru was extremely protective of his team, not trusting those who hurt them. Jiraiya topped that list, even if he was trying to make up for it. Jiraiya-sama, the Hyuga greeted tersely, staring down from the bird Deidara had conjured up for them. "Do you have anything that can help?" Jiraiya ignored the tone and grinned. "Why, of course. Gamaken, let's show these brats how it's done. I will try my best, even if I am rather clumsy." Gamaken launched using his powerful legs and drew his weapons. Exploding Susumata attack. Toad oil bullets. Jiraiya called simultaneously. Susumata and oil crash into the crown of the barrier, a deafening explosion ringing out. Instantly the crystals shatter and fall, cascading in an unceremonious heap. Hikaru and Deidara swoop down without a second thought while Gamaken poofs away, leaving a falling Jiraiya to wonder why nobody took a moment to praise his feats before following. Back with Guran. Guran closed her eyes at the sight of 3 enormous balls of chakra-laced wind barrel towards her. "I guess this is the end," she thought, only to feel scales encircle her. Eyes peeking open, the kunoichi spied her master, standing atop a snake summons, expression coy. My little Guran had too much fun. We'll talk about your punishment for almost failing the mission later, but for now rest," were the last words Guran heard before exhaustion overtook her. With Naruto. Crap. The snake bastard. Naruto thought frantically as his attack was absorbed by the snake Sannin summons. The traitor had risen from the ground and protected his adversary. Now, as the snake-like eyes bore into his masked ones, Naruto knew he was screwed. Being blown to the ground from the backlash, the young ANBU resembled a mouse about to be eaten. Just then his team, his friends landed protectively in front of him. Naruto was conflicted about feeling relieved to see his senpai or terrified that they would just die alongside him. Hisoka appeared from a shadow as well, teeth bared and hackles raised to make him appear twice as massive as usual. Kukukuku, you certainly are an interesting one, Naruto. To think the failure Jinchuriki is actually one of Sensei's personal lap dogs. And to have two fools guard you along with a kitty, how enigmatic. Kukuku, we'll meet again, but for now my fun must end. Don't die in the meantime, alright? And with that, Orochimaru the Sannin left in a plume of smoke just as Jiraiya and Angel appeared from opposite ends, Angel just missing ripping out Orochimaru's throat. Naruto sighed in relief, feeling his eyes drooping to oblivion. With the others. A few tense moments pass after Orochimaru and Guran disappeared before Hikaru finally spoke. Well, now that we can breathe again, time to heal you up, Chibi Kohai. Hikaru announced cheerfully, back to his old self. Deidara sweat dropped at the sudden shift, he was quite liking the serious side of Hikaru. He went over to help the youngest member of their team when he realized a dried patch of blood soaked his middle and his head was rolled back. Hikaru? I think he's passed out, Hikaru jolted out of giving a victory sign at the fact they technically chased away a Sannin. Crap. Hang on, I'm coming. Hikaru said frantically, hands already glowing green. Angel and Hisoka kept watch while their partner/summoner was patched up, each vigilant for any threats lurking in the shadows. Jiraiya joined them moments later, looking awkward and worried. And once again my life is a failure, letting my teammate escape after his henchwoman injured my godson. Neither feline said nothing, staring off into the darkness, their own thoughts plaguing them. Several hours later, with Naruto. Naruto blinked blearily. At the sunlight in his eyes, wondering why it felt like Kurama was sitting on his chest. Gaki, if I, the great Kurama, was sitting on your chest, you'd be squished by my amazingness alone. Kurama. You're back. Naruto smiled mentally, his mask unable to hide the obvious joy. Receding into his mindscape for a moment, he sat in front of the bars, giving his Biju friend a thumbs up. Why are you smiling, you insolent worm? You let yourself get impaled in the center of the seal. If you didn't have amazing healing ability on your own, you'd, and more importantly me, would be dead. At least I was able to heal you all the way. Technically you're fine now, but we could have died. Yeah, but we lived, and that's what's important. Well, if the scroll wasn't taken, that is. Naruto finished sheepishly. Kurama scoffed in reply. While you slept I kept the connection to your ear open, the silly scroll was saved and that girl you dream about is resting her head on your arm. Naruto instantly woke back up and looked down. Sure enough, Yakumo slept peacefully on his arm, snoring loudly. His eyes then focused downwards. Angel, Hisoka, Deidara, and Hikaru were sprawled across, Hikaru on his legs while the various felines lounged on his chest. Deidara had his arms wrapped around Hisoka's tail. Well, this is awkward, he said weakly. Guys? Hey! I need to breathe, Naruto protested, only he found himself being drowned out by Hikaru's and Yakumo's combined snoring. Ro was given the morning shift of babysitting the Kurama heiress as we killed or captured 3 times as many prisoners as any other team, as well as prevented the scroll of seals from getting into Orochimaru's hands. That tiger even summoned your panther. They're all just resting. Good job. Tenzo spoke from a perch on the window, his uniform torn with grime from the night before. Yugao slept in a chair by the door, in the middle of cleaning her sword. Oh. Naruto managed with a sweat drop. But I let that Guran woman escape. He mumbled in shame a moment later at the memory. Only because Orochimaru interceded. Learn to accept praise where it's due, Naruto. You did well. Naruto nodded sheepishly. A yawn drew his attention back to Yakumo. Naruto. You're up. The brunette greeted happily, hair disheveled. Naruto chuckled and nodded. Go away, roach team. For the last time I refuse to help you open a roach circus. Deidara mumbled in his sleep. The three awake shared a quiet chuckle that made Naruto wince. Yakumo winced back in sympathy and began prying the felines off his chest. Akira was easy, as she just snuggled into the crook of Naruto's underarm. Angel was also easy, moving in a sleepy daze to crawl under Deidara's hair. Hisoka. Well, the tiger just purred and refused to move. Hisoka, wake up. Naruto pleaded. The large cat woke up and gave him a side-eye glance. Think you and Akira could go sleep somewhere else? I need my chest. Hisoka stared impassively for a moment. Resembling a cow, before giving an affirmation. Picking up a still sleeping Akira, he left in a puff of smoke. Yakumo looked a bit embarrassed and held out a book. This is for you. She dropped it in a heap on his lap before rambling. The hospital was all out of flowers and I couldn't just visit without a gift even if you are all better for some reason, so here. Naruto blinked and read the title. Anything puny, impress your friends and enemies with witty puns straight from the land of fire. He looked up at his friend looking everywhere but him. Thanks, Yakumo-chan. This will be great for my collection. Maybe I can use these to give a certain furry friend a sense of humor that doesn't revolve around impaling jokes. Giving her an nice smile, he opened it, missing the blush that slightly pinkened the girl's cheeks. Oh, Kurama. Look what I have for you, Naruto mentally sung. In your darkest nightmares, mortal. The fox huffed. His human partner rolled his eyes and closed the book. Chibi Kohai, you're up? The Hyuga on the squad lifted his head, drool flowing down. Naruto stoically ignored the droplets landing on his leg, thinking of all the payback he could give his senpai for it, starting with a rude awakening. Oh, senpai. I just remembered that the exterminator is planned to visit our floor today. He trailed off as Hikaru had already jumped out the window screaming about his babies. Yakumo looked ready to die laughing. I didn't think you were serious, but that Hyuga is very unique. She managed between snorts. I wonder when Wolf will realize the exterminator isn't scheduled for another week? Dragon said dryly from above Naruto's head, appearing from nowhere, as usual. The enigmatic man chortled and shook his head. No matter, mouse, report. I want to know exactly what that kunoichi can do and how she hit you while you had 4 tails. Tenzo was already escorting Yakumo out with Yugao, who had woken when a crow landed on her head, pecking her. Naruto took a deep breath and began, knowing it would be a long day. Yes, sir. It began when ANBU Agent Wolf's plan resulted in me being catapulted away from the rest of Ro. Konoha Hospital, 30 minutes later. Yakumo looked at Naruto in a bit of shock, who in turn gave a sheepish grin. The two preteens were alone after the report, as Naruto had ended up telling the heiress exactly why he was in ANBU at such a young age. So yeah, I'm our Jinchuriki of the Kyubi who attacked our village, even if it wasn't entirely his fault. If it makes you uncomfortable, I understand. It's fascinating, Yakumo interjected, looking at Naruto in curiosity. Fascinating? Naruto asked, beginning to feel like a prized experiment under the girl's gaze. Yes, fascinating. I read in a book about Jinchuriki and how all the major villages had one or more. When I asked if Konoha had one since we fought the 9 tails, my parents slapped me and sent me to bed without dinner, claiming Konoha didn't need demons to be on top. Naruto winced. But of course they were ludicrous claims, as it is clear the tailed beasts are chakra constructs, not actual demons. Naruto whipped his head up, eyes locking onto hers. You mean you don't think I'm a demon boy or something to be avoided? He asked. Jinchuriki, even those not hated, were generally avoided by the civilians in their village, both for village security. Anyone could be an assassin, and because of how disconcerting it can be to be around a human capable of wielding almost endless destruction. Yakumo snorted at this. Of course not. And if I was used like a glorified chakra pill for hundreds of years, I'd take my revenge on the puny mortals too. She stated haughtily. Marry her. What? Naruto mentally sputtered, only to hear Kurama sigh in contentment. Her taste and presence need work, this mortal gets me. Marry her, Negan, and have generations of chaos-loving babies that would do my bidding. Kurama cackled, causing Naruto to sweat drop. We need to discuss your tastes in humans. Naruto? Hey, fishy cake? Yakumo asked in concern, causing Naruto to blink and get back to reality. Huh? Oh, sorry. Kurama, the QB- the one and only that matters, mortal, was having a lapse in judgment. Anyways, you don't mind still being friends? I suppose we can still be friends. But. She held up a finger and stuck it in Naruto's face, dead serious. Only if we go to this Ichiraku ramen place soon. Sure thing. In fact, we can go, Naruto began excitedly, only to be interrupted by his captain. Some other time, our mission has arrived, and Ferret wants his charge back. Tenzo popped in, Ferret materializing on the ceiling. Of course, Captain. Naruto said dutifully and caught the scroll with an extra uniform. Ferret jumped down and used a shunshin on himself and Yakumo, no doubt heading to the new safe house already set up for the heiress. Within moments of Yakumo leaving, Naruto was already changed into his uniform, mouse mask firmly in place. With a nod he and Tenzo set out towards the gates, Kurama growling at the ominous feeling that traveled down his spine. In Otogekure. Orochimaru didn't know whether to kill every subordinate in sight to ease his frustrations or chuckle in dark glee. So, he settled on both, leaving the Sound 5 and Guran to watch from the sidelines in morbid fascination as 3 of the surviving Otonins from the attack were ripped in half as payment for their work. 10 more fell before Orochimaru stopped and stroked his chin. Kukukuku, little Minato's child, is a Shinobi ANBU in fact, and he's learned his mother's chains. It was always a pity I couldn't have that insufferable loudmouth Kushina when she was alive. Her bloodline was downright fascinating. But alas, no time like the present to rectify that mistake. Guran! He shouted. The kunoichi, still wrapped in bandages from her fight and out for blood, kneeled in front of her master. Yes, Orochimaru-sama? She asked in slight nervousness. The missing nin turned pseudo-Kage chuckled. Calm yourself, my little crystal user. You managed to copy the Edo Tensei Jutsu down for me before the fight, a good thing too, or else I might have found myself too curious about what makes your bloodline work. The threat hung in the air, and even Kimimaro couldn't keep his brow from sweating. But no matter, while I am taking care of Sensei, I am almost certain that Uzumaki Jinchuriki will be in charge of dealing with Gaara. You and Kimimaro will capture him, alive, and bring him to me. I'm certain that as long as I hand him over to my old associates when I'm finished, all should be well. Yes, Orochimaru-sama, both Crystal User and Kagaya intoned. But, Guran? Yes, Orochimaru-sama? I wouldn't fail me again if I were you. Of course not. The kunoichi said before leaving, off to do her research. She had to find out everything possible about those insufferable chains and Jinchuriki chakra. As Orochimaru watched her go, he started back to his temporary job as Kazekage. After all, his clone couldn't keep going forever. Just you wait, Sensei, I will destroy you and that pitiful village. Team Row, Konoha gates. Mouse, cat, fox, go above the gate. Wolf and I will greet. Tenzo signed, receiving nods. Naruto crouched in one of the many hidden ledges on the great gates of Konoha, neck bristling as the sheer feeling of his fellow Jinchuriki washed over him. I told you it's disgusting. Why do I feel such bloodlust, that I've told you how Shikaka drives his hosts insane. This is the result, the host is only sane when he soaks his sand with blood. Naruto noted the tint of regret in his partner's voice, but decided to not comment. The three children of the current Kazekage walked through the gates looking important, yet the older pair were meekly behind the youngest. Naruto watched in fascination at the scene, remembering to be ready to activate the barrier seal Jiraiya had set up at a moment's notice. One could never be too careful with foreign shinobi, especially ones of Gaara's character. Deidara had a half-dozen clay spiders ready for deployment while Yugao spun 5 shuriken, each one deadly accurate if need be. Welcome to Konoha, papers please, Sabaka-sans. Kotetsu greeted, ever the carefree personality. Naruto rolled his eyes as he could see Izumo preparing to pull his friend away if a wall of sand shot out of Gaara's gourd. Temari, the small red head spoke, a dead monotone to match his teal eyes. The kunoichi, moving quickly despite the large battle fan attached to her back, handed Kotetsu the papers. Thank you. Please behave in the village, an ANBU team will be watching over you until the exams start. Hikaru, eyes no doubt activated, and Tenzo appeared in front of them, tall and intimidating. Temari and Kankuro were about to protest but Gaara beat them to it. If they get in my way I will kill them, he said. And walked slowly down the street, siblings following. Naruto locked eyes with his captain who seemed to shrug. Follow in shadows, we won't interfere unless they attack. He ordered and soon all 5 members of Row became shadows in the August sun, blending into the background of a village unaware that a living embodiment of what could have been their own scorned Jinchuriki walked amongst them. Dragon and Hiruzen. And you're certain the non-shinobi haven't a clue about last night? Sarutobi asked his ANBU commander, puffing a pipe to ease his stress. Shursui took off his mask, looking more tired than ever, and took the pipe for himself. I'm certain, Hiruzen, the barrier around the civilian and visitors section of the village blocked the chakra from being sensed, even mouses. It was smart of you to have that fool put them in place years ago, he commented. Sarutobi gave a side eye at the stolen pipe. Yes, well, I knew letting potential spies and civilians be able to sense the vile chakra of the Kyuubi would be suicide should Naruto ever had need to use it to protect the village. Or if he had accessed it during the academy. The Hokage added in a mutter. Shursui snorted. With how much you stalked him with your ball. Before anyone pushed him too far you would have appeared, standing over him like a mother hen. Perhaps, Sarutobi admitted, then swiped back the pipe. Hey! I was using that. My boy, you're too young to smoke. The one-eyed Uchiha scoffed. And you? Why, I'm too old not to. And finally, Danzo. It's time, Sai, make sure the Uchiha survives the exams. Orochimaru wants to mark him as his next pet for that pipe dream of immortality. Let him without being obvious and hand him this scroll. I'll need him to save Konoha from itself. Sai clenched his jaw slightly but agreed, leaving to meet his sensei. Watching the boy go, Danzo waved a hand and a root agent appeared. Be prepared to take out Sai should he fail. This is your first time back in the land of fire, but I know I don't need to question your loyalty to that thorn in my side's brother. Of course not, Danzo-sama. The shadow said. Danzo Shimura nodded to himself. You have been my most loyal recruit after Torian and Fu, Takashi, if only the rest of your clan were so. Perhaps they'd still be with us, protecting the great tree, instead of just I serving Konoha's rise to power. The new Uchiha clan lives only for Konoha, Danzo-sama. The newly identified Takashi said in reverence, and left, leaving just a scheming old man behind. Team Ro stalked the Sand Trio constantly over the following days, switching out with Hawk's team at night. Kakashi popped in from time to time, only to be scolded by Tenzo for abandoning his vulnerable genin he was supposed to watch. Currently such an encounter was happening. Tenzo, Sasuke is perfectly safe with Guy's squad. Kakashi defended in sign, giving an eye smile in the cramped tea shop rafters, sand. Siblings drinking their beverages below in the abandoned shop. The place had emptied after Gaara let his sand rise up and kick a customer out of their seat. The poor man had to be escorted home by a pair of chunin. He was so frightened. Naruto and Yugao mirrored each other's eye rolls. Besides, as Mause's sensei, it's my job to make sure he isn't nervous about his first chunin exams. Kakashi attempted to pat the blonde on the head only to be stopped by a vine. A masked Tenzo gave the Cyclops a ghostly look. Senpai, I suggest you leave. Nah, Kohai, I mean no harm. Kakashi signed in an equally ghostly way. As the argument continued, Naruto could have had a shuriken flashed in his face without reacting, for the battle in his head was fierce. Kurama, stop. Just leave me alone, I'm on duty. Naruto mentally shouted. Oh, I'm sorry, but I can't leave you alone, we're kind of rooted to one another. The giant fox replied in a deadpan voice. Ever since Yakumo had gifted them the pun book, Kurama had become obsessed despite his original protests, much to Naruto's surprised chagrin. Please, I'll do anything if you stop. We can take an assassination mission if you want, or ask to be stationed in Kiri for a month. Come on, that would satiate your bloodlust, right? The blonde begged. Pfft, you're barking up the wrong tree, Gaki. The great Kurama tree demands more blood than that to be properly watered. Naruto went slack-jawed for a moment, unable to respond due to shock. W8. He sputtered, you think you're a tree now? Kurama, Naruto's rant was cut off by a painful cuff to the head. Blinking he saw Yugao with her sword drawn. Gucci, she signed, I didn't want to get my sword dirty. Stay alert. She ordered. Naruto nodded, and noticed their target and subsequently his team, were moving north at a civilian pace, towards the academy. Kakashi had sauntered off somewhere, probably to scare his team, Naruto realized. The first exam was set to begin in an hour and around them the various teams were beginning to converge onto the building, ANBU squads alert for potential sabotage or spying. The senseis were being kept in a separate part of the village, supposedly to stop any outside help, but all the Konoha chunin and up knew that IWA censor. So far Dragon's planning had paid off, but the real test would begin should the IWA teams pass to the third round. And that's why Ibiki was in charge. Naruto and the rest of Ro ghosted their psychopathic charge and his siblings after they reached the examination room, perching in a room that had a hidden window into the classroom below. Hawk's team gave haughty salutes as they materialized nearby, with Kakashi's and Kurenai's teams entering the crowded room. Hawk, your team can leave, Ro is capable of handling security. Tenzo signed. To which the entirety of Hawk's team gave the bird. And miss out on Prime Genin suffering? Not to mention our bets? Not a chance, Tiger. Hawk signed in mock offense. Hikaru scoffed but held a retort at Tenzo's hand. Of course not, Hawk. Why not have another bet? After all, your squad is looking after the Hyuga girl and ours the Uchiha in the Forest of Death. Why not make a little wager? Tenzo said, whispering in a mocking tone. Naruto and the others perked up. Bets in ANBU tended to have extreme amounts of collateral. Sure thing, Kitty, Hawk retorted, what's the wager? Whichever team reaches the tower first wins. The losing squad has to take any mission the other team desires, any mission at all. The words hung in the air, the stakes were high, for any mission meant they could be sent on anything from an S-ranked war mission to the horrid escorting of the fire daimyo's wife. For a moment it appeared like Hawk would not take the bait, that he would be the better man and stop the childishness. Naruto held his breath. He's definitely going to fall for it and take the bait. Kurama quipped with a pun. Naruto scoffed. Yeah right fuzzball, Captain Hawk wouldn't dare take that bet when we have the team with a root agent, an Uchiha that has a Sharingan, and Sakura most of all. Captain Hawk is going to dash, you're going down. Hawk whispered and the pair shook on it. Ha! I knew that foolish human would fall for it. Take that, Gaki, I told you so. Naruto kept a clear mind and ignored his furry tenant, focusing back on the room. The blonde and Kyubi repressed snorts as Sakura and Sai kicked Kiba in the groin and nose respectively after the dog boy tried a pass at the pink-haired Kunoichi. It was time, he noticed dryly, as Ibiki and the chunin made a dramatic entrance using the chakra smoke to the max. Ibiki complained every day about Enko's excessive entrances, but Naruto began wondering as he watched if it was just a cover for the scarred Jonin's own love for the dramatic. Or it could be the prospect of destroying Genin, who could say. On the floor. Ibiki gave a cruel grin to his new playthings. A dark chuckle rose as he increased his killing intent, just to get the point across. The head of T and I didn't actually relish destroying the Genin's confidence. Much. But orders were to run them hard. And Ibiki was a stickler for the rules. Listen up, pathetic maggots. I am Ibiki, your host. I'd like to welcome you to the chunin exams. Here he paused for effect. The entire room of Genin save Sai, Gaara, and a few veterans, gulped. And to tell you to have happy nightmares. With a mad cackle the room erupted in a powerful knockout gas, and the Genin started falling like flies. Back with Naruto. Hikaru swung his arm around Naruto and Deidara, a bag of popcorn materializing. So, think they'll actually fail the IWA Genin? Hikaru asked happily. Naruto sighed. Senpai, you tell me, if you were an IWA Genin, he'd be executed for his stupidity, Deidara interjected. Would you pass this test? Naruto asked, ignoring his fellow blonde. Good point. Popcorn? Finally, back on the floor. Gaara stood emotionlessly, his siblings on the ground, unconscious. A nervous chunin approached with a clipboard, fully aware of how dangerous his job was. Sabako-san? PP please come with me. The young man asked, clearly wondering why he let himself get promoted to Ibiki's division at 17. Will I get to kill people? The insomniatic teen inquired threateningly. The proctor was about to say of course not, then looked at his chart. Better them than me. Well, that's your provocative, sir. Very well then, I must prove my existence. Gaara consented and followed, bloodlust thick. Sakura blinked at the blinding light, resisting a groan from grogginess. However, the vague recollection of being drugged sprung the Genin into action, reaching for scalpel and kunai as she crouched, before cursing as she realized all her weapons were taken. Sharp eyes darted around to take in their surroundings, a classroom, the very one she used to hide out in to read fantasy novels, before Sakura's eyes rested on what made her blood run cold. Sai, her teammate and almost friend, was bound and hung from the ceiling, a strange purple seal on his forehead. Despite the situation he stared calmly back at her, always the stoic shinobi. Shoot! The Reaper poisoned seal. But why would Sai have one? Sakura wondered, before a grunt drew her focus to behind. An IWA Genin was glaring back at her from the same position, the purple seal angrily glaring as well. Get me down from here, Konoha scum, before I kill like my parents killed your kind in the last war. The enemy male barked, struggling against what Sakura recognized as chakra rope's expensive binding that kept a target's chakra at civilian levels of usefulness. In other words, useless. Just then a paper floated down lazily with a tiny needle taped on, its message able to turn the feisty former fangirl sheet white. This needle has enough antidote for one person. You have until the Reaper poison seal disappears, then they die. Choose. Allow the enemy to die by poison or let your teammate die. Try to leave without choosing and all of you will be forbidden from ever becoming chunin. With the message in an angry red, prompting her to choose, Sakura did the only thing she could do. Oh yeah? This petty attempt at a loyalty test won't stop me, CHA. The up-and-coming medical prodigy screamed at the ceiling angrily, fist shaking with wrath. Meanwhile, with Naruto. Naruto, sitting in an observation room amongst other ANBU, sweat dropped at his former classmate's response to what would technically be an ANBU absolute loyalty evaluation. Of course in ANBU, they actually wanted the enemy to be killed, no mercy to other villages and all that, not just left at the mercy of a fake seal. The masked blonde shuddered at the memory of Dragon happily recounting his own absolute loyalty test. This particular one, however, was taken down after his father was killed, as failing to save a teammate even if it was just a fake poison was deemed too traumatic when they really just needed bodies on the ground in the wake of Kurama's wrath. Not my fault you humans can't survive a little pat from my tail. Kurama scoffed. Naruto bristled at his partner. Shut it, fuzz butt. In what universe could Antone survive a tale of pure malice slapping them miles away? Or a Baijidama at point blank, good point. Now quiet sapling, the great Kurama is trying to photosynthesize. And Nani? Naruto thought incredulously. He was tempted to check himself for genjutsu until Kurama gave a mental head pat through the seal. Shoo, mouse, quit spacing out, it's prime entertainment. Hikaru whispered next to him, looking at the screen of the genin rooms giddily from behind the mask. Ooh, next up is the Uchiha team, this ought to be good. A random ANBU added from another place in the room. Sasuke Uchiha's room. Sasuke Uchiha was having a no-good, very bad day. Why, you may ask. Well, if he had to put it into two words, the biggest annoyance for him was the two Kumo kunoichi staring back at him as he was tied up and feeling rather ill. I demand you let me down. He grunted. It was much less haughty than Sasuke BS before Sakura. The last Uchiha had learned his attitude had consequences amongst women, and kunoichi were the worst of them all. If I get out of this alive, I'm never marrying a kunoichi, screw having strong children if it means I die at every mood swing. The two Kumo genin tilted their heads at what appeared to be a no-name genin demanding them, one the former Kage's great niece and the other part of the Yatsuki clan, Kumo's most loyal clan since the village's founding years. Giving a side eye to her teammate, Yuzu Yatsuki smirked. Nah, Saki, what should we do with him? I mean, he is rather rude for a clan-less genin. Yuzu asked, her standard Kumo shinobi attire proudly carrying the symbol of her clan. I'm not a nobody. My name is Sasuke. Here Sasuke stopped his indignant retort, as he had foregone his clan attire for the exam at Naruto's suggestion. The Uchiha still shivered at how the blonde had woken him up at 2 am over a week ago with a ghastly face illuminated from a flashlight and a demonic voice. Flashback. Hello, Sasuke-chan. Lovely evening, isn't it? Sasuke balked at the sight before him. Naruto, looking worse than a demon with his mask pulled down and teeth bared, was talking as if they were old friends who bumped into each other in a shop. What the hell, Naruto? You can't just barge in here and a piece of paper with a seal was slapped over Sasuke's mouth and he suddenly couldn't move or speak. Listen here, Sasuke, Naruto said softly. The chunin exams are not a time to be an Uchiha. For your sake, would suggest going as just Sasuke, not Uchiha. If you choose to not listen to my friendly suggestion. Flashback end. Sasuke just shivered at the threat that had followed, not noticing how it was a sign of fear to the Kumo genin in front of me. The newly named Saki simply rolled her eyes and pulled her short, plain, chocolate hair into a messy bun as she thought about the note. I'm instructed to get the other part of the code from this kid? It wasn't on him when he was knocked out. I have to get the code for Yuzu's sake. She has to pass this. Saki hummed, thinking back to the note that she still hadn't shown her teammate. This is your team. Each of the others are in possession of 1/3 of the password for the door. The door will only open for one person to get through. Try to fit everyone through and you will all be barred from being chunin ever again. So far I have my code, 127, and Yuzu's from when she was still asleep, 721. Now for this Sasuke kid. Making a decision, Saki chopped her teammate's neck, making sure the now sleeping girl crumpled to the ground safely. With dull eyes that hid intelligence and loyalty, Saki turned to the one with supposedly the last piece to the puzzle. I'm going to say this only one, give me your code or I will strangle you with the rope you hang from. Tell me where you hid yours, as I've checked everywhere on you. Sasuke glared back, missing the connotations of her last statement. I don't have any code, Kumo trash. So the hard way then, whatever it takes I guess. Cracking her knuckles, Saki inched towards her opponent. With Team Sound and Gaara, the still psycho Jinchuriki. Gaara stared at his note impassively, before turning to the two Oda genin, both terrified. Your codes? He intoned with a hint of bloodlust. Dosu and Kin, two known spies of Orochimaru, felt their knees quaking at the demon they were supposed to be working with. Here, Gaara-sama. We only have one part, the other is missing. Dosu said. Kin had given her slip of 127 instantly, but Dosu himself had no such paper. Give me the code or I will feed you to mother. The Jinchuriki promised as sand rose up. Kin, ever the more tech-savvy one, took one look at the door, however, and gasped. Wait, Gaara-sama. She begged as sand was wrapping around her. I can prove to you why you should keep us alive and why we will all pass this round, together. You let us live and I can help you have more people to kill than just us two. That I'm listening. Gaara finally said, the last rational part reminding him he had a mission to complete. Despite all appearances, Gaara knew when to listen to orders. Killing things was much easier. To have technical allies dangle a carrot in front of his, or rather his mother's, bloodlust face was too good to pass up. Why, you see, there is no third code. In fact, those numbers are meaningless. The three parts are our chakra signatures. With Naruto. Sick of just sitting and watching for entertainment, Naruto carefully landed next to Ibiki, who was observing each room intently, taking detailed notes. Ibiki-sama, may I ask a question? Naruto asked, careful to not disrupt the proctors. Concentration. Ibiki gave a side eye. Ask quickly then leave, Mouse-chan. Ignoring the jab, Naruto took a breath. Why the two separate tests? You gave the poison one to Konoha heavy teams, while everyone else got the test of the chakra doors. Why? You know most Konoha teams won't even pass the loyalty test, they're too soft. And that's exactly why. We need our chunin ready for war, while the rest of the villages think we're preparing for peace. In war, chunin will leave those who aren't of the village to die. You should know this, Mouse, based on that infamous doppelganger mission. To those outside Konoha, however, they will still believe we are about cooperation when the failed genin report to their Kage. To be a shinobi. It's all about deceiving them, isn't it? Naruto whispered while watching Sakura mercilessly leave the IWA shinobi tied up and inject Sai with the antidote. The pair left the poisoned IWA genin in the room, whose passing would be determined by his teammates' performance against other Konoha teams. Immediately quiet Shino left another of the IWA team's teammate to carry Hinata out, while the third one, the lone girl, failed the door test by leaving a Konoha team in the room after having them pump chakra into the door. Granted, that team was slated to fail, so it wasn't a loss, but still. Guess only one IWA team left now. Naruto noted, as surprisingly a single IWA kunoichi honorably helped a Kumo team through the door instead of just stealing their chakra. To deceive is to kill them. If that Kumo team passes who is with the Uchiha maggot, they won't know which way Konoha falls, the path of peace or war. I guarantee that every Kage out there will have war councils after this to decide if this test was designed to show our bloodlust or our hopes to work together. And which is it then? Naruto asked, Kurama listening in as well. Through the mask, Naruto witnessed a sight no one wants to see, Ibiki Moreno, top interrogator, smiling with malice. Why, both of course, as Konoha is hoping to dip into both the honey pot and the beehive, maggot. Naruto shuddered and walked away, Ibiki's laugh unnerving his stomach. Quit whining, we're going to war, this will make our village seem strong. Oh, our village? I thought you weren't going to ever call this place home. Shut it, mortal, it was a slip of the tongue, nothing more. Of course, of course. Excuse my mistake, Naruto replied sarcastically. You are more trouble than you're worth sometimes. That scarred human was trying to teach you an important lesson and it went over your head like my greatness. And what lesson is that, Kurama? He asked blandly. You'll have to figure that out for yourself, Naruto. And I just hope you don't change when you finally do. Even with your track record, how can one handle what I believe these flesh bags are planning? Not even a demon would think of this. For once, father, please let me be wrong. Those were the quiet thoughts of the ancient Kyubi no Kitsune as he narrowed his eyes through his containers. With Sakura and Sai. You feeling better, Sai? Sakura asked with concern. Sai, paler than normal, nodded feebly. They were in the hallway, staring at a note to go to the cafeteria to wait for their teammate to pass the same round. She felt bad for leaving the other shinobi to die, but at the same time, Sakura had been taught by Hikaru-sensei that showing mercy to an enemy just left them another chance to kill you later on. Unless this is just a silly test and he isn't poisoned. Wait, that's silly, Sakura. Focus on the next goal. Yes, I am fine, Sakura-san. Good, you still have that storage seal on your shoulder tattooed on? The pink-haired girl asked, and received a firm nod in response. Are you thinking? Sai trailed off. Let's go find that idiot before he gets killed. If it's the same test as ours, another village left him to die. What's the plan then? Sai asked as he summoned a brush and ink, letting his creations erupt, ready for anything. Screw the test and rescue Sasuke before the poison seal would have disappeared. I would say 25 minutes if they started at the same time. Your mice should be able to steal from another team their antidote, just make sure it isn't one with a Konoha team. And if they all have a Konoha comrade on them? Then. I don't know, I'll think of something. Maybe we can ask Hikaru-sensei to help. If worse comes to worse, we'll forfeit the chunin exams and take Sasuke to the hospital. We'll likely never be allowed in the exams again, you know. Sai replied blandly in an attempt to reason with his squad member. Sakura snorted, her next words ones that would define how the pale and mission-driven Sai saw the world for the rest of his life. And so what? I would rather die in IWA than to ever think about abandoning a comrade. Sacrifice is one thing, but for someone to choose to sacrifice a human being without that person choosing it for themselves. That is truly what makes someone worse than scum. Back with Sasuke. Please stop. I told you, Ak. I told you it's a chakra sensing door like my clan had for their vaults. It can only be, Ak. Opened, if everyone in the room pushes their chakra into it. Ak, stop. Please, for the love of all that is good and holy, Sasuke Uchiha gasped before breaking out into another fit of laughter. Saki puffed out a cheek, before sighing. It seems I need to get serious. Rushing through hand signs she intoned, Kumo's secret finger jutsu, 1,000 years of tickles. And proceeded to tickle the poor Uchiha some more, until the door burst open, landing near her. "Get away from my teammate before I gut you, bitch." Saki crept her eyes up and felt her whole body go rigid in fear. For before her stood a sight worse than any bijou, an angry Sakura Haruno, short hair flying and fists cracking. "Why yes, ma'am." Saki gulped, glad Yuzu was still asleep and didn't have that nightmare fuel to plague her. "In the ANBU area, with Ibiki." "Ha ha 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 ha." Hikaru laughed at Sakura, who was frantically making sure the Uchiha didn't have a poison seal. Upon finding out the differences in the tests, the kunoichi just dragged all three out of the room and towards the cafeteria, a meek Sai just following along. "Can she do that?" a proctor asked, gray uniform signifying him as Ibiki's underling. "They fail, right?" Multiple whispers and hand signs flew, and with each one Ibiki's headache grew. The last one finally made him explode. Totally, Ibiki-sama wouldn't let them go after that. Another underling boasted. Silence. Not a single ANBU or random Jonin sensei lurking were brave enough to try and counter that command. Technically what Sakura Haruno did was not against the rules, the cafeteria waiting room was only a suggestion, as long as they get there before the timer goes off in 30 minutes. She and Sai displayed exemplary loyalty to their comrade. "Those maggots will pass." And the Kumo team? Bah, they pass too. It's too much paperwork to fail them. Ibiki scoffed flippantly and continued on observing the exam. 30 minutes later, cafeteria. With a large puff, 20 proctors and Ibiki appeared, all intimidating. Ibiki smiled at the sight of only 12 teams surviving, 6 of them being from Konoha, and only 1 from IWA. Just as Ibiki was preparing his epic last speech that he most definitely had not spent hours practicing, a kunai shot through the window. "Listen up you maggots. The incredibly beautiful Anko Mitarashi is here for your second and better test." Anko boasted, striking a power pose, dango proudly in her teeth. With a facepalm, Ibiki took a breath to begin his attempt to recover the mood of the chunin exams and gather some of his intimidation factor back. With Naruto. Naruto had his mouth slightly agape at his rather quirky friend's entrance, when a snap from Tenzo brought him back. "Time to prepare for the second round. You ready?" Tenzo asked out loud. Naruto gave a tilt of his head to look his captain in the eye. "Yes, Taicho. I'm ready." When Naruto spotted Orochimaru in disguise as the Sannin licked his lips, somehow foolish enough to believe nobody noticed his disguise even when the man stuck a foot-long tongue out. That or overconfident. "We did do a fantastic job of playing the ignorant village," Naruto mused to himself, idly keeping his hand gripped on a chakra metal kunai, mentally asking the traitor to give him an excuse to fling a Kurama-influenced kunai at his slimy head. Unfortunately, Orochimaru was content to just peer at his old student in a predative way even as Anko managed the miracle of pretending he wasn't there. It had taken much therapy from the third Hokage to ensure Anko's cooperation. Seeing the signal from Tenzo to send 50 clones into the forest for minor additional recon as Anko was starting her spiel. Naruto settled down for an entertaining few minutes, his black cloak and forest contrasting sharply with his mask. Down in the clearing. A light worthless maggots. Anko greeted cheerfully once every genin team had sufficiently gawked at what was the most dangerous place in the land of fire and hand in their liability forms. "I hope you're ready to die painfully for my enjoyment." Multiple genin bristled at her flippant attitude about their lives only to find a kunai in their backpacks courtesy of a hidden Naruto, chains like vipers, not that the genin could see. No genin would show his friend disrespect. "Heh, you're getting pretty good with those chains, Naruto." Kurama praised in a bored tone. "Ah, thanks Kurama," that means Naruto started to give gratitude for the praise only to be cut off by Kurama. It's such an accomplishment to hit unmoving large targets at non-vital spots. The fox finished his compliment with a sarcastic smirk, causing the blonde ANBU to mentally roll his eyes at his own foolishness at thinking Kurama could be sincere. He felt a creeping chill run up his spine and turned slightly to face Tenzo. "Do that again, Mouse, and I'll tell Dragon you want a training retreat with him," Tenzo threatened through animated sign language. Of course, Taicho," Naruto signed back with shaky hands that gave away his fear. Hikaru and Yugao shared silent snickers. Down below, Anko continued her proctoring speech. "Right here you brats get to spend 2 days in my personal playground, the Forest of Death. Inside you'll find roaming wasp spiders, leeches, and ANBU squads to pick your dead husks from the forest floor. But don't worry, you don't have to spend 2 whole days in there," she assured the now trembling genin. Seeing their unspoken question, the snake summoner continued. "All you maggots have to do is play a little game of cat and mouse." "See cat and mouse?" Ino asked uncertainly, already dreading the forest. She knew her team wasn't ready for this but didn't want to look bad by dropping out. Anko got a predatory gleam in her eyes. "Why yes dearie. See, half the squads here will receive a scroll." Here she held up a giant scroll with the kanji for mouse written in large letters and signaling for the assembled teams to split evenly, which happened quickly. Naruto could feel his eye twitch when Anko sent a wink in his general direction due to the name. The other half of the squads will not receive a scroll, but a map of the area. The mice get a 20-minute head start towards the teams that make it with a scroll advance. Anko finished. Kiba took the opportunity to speak his ire. "That's bull. What about us pursuit teams? We have no chance in hell." Another kunai in his backpack courtesy of Anko shut him up. TSK, on the contrary my dear Inuzuka, the mice teams have one key disadvantage." Her eyes held a fake, not that the genin. Or chunin could tell, manic gleam. Everyone waited expectantly. This. As she said that, each mouse team had a teammate shot with snake venom. Instantly the genin felt their chakra drain. That venom hails from the land of bears and is known to seal a person's chakra away for 6 days on average. And for those with a medic. Well, there is no antidote since I messed with it. Anko finished sheepishly, not bothering to mention the side effects that 20% of victims experienced from her improved version. What they didn't know couldn't be used to sue her. "Alright maggots. Mouse teams line up and remember, you have to reach the towers with everyone alive, so I recommend killing the weak competition." And thus each team prepared to play their roles, nervously discussing their various strategies as Anko cackled at her own callous advice. Mouse team preparations. With Team 10. Shikamaru absently rubbed his arm where he was injected and gave his teammates a hard look. "This will be troublesome, but if we run fast enough we can make it before anyone will bother us." The lazy genius sighed when he noticed Ino being unusually sullen. "What's with you, Ino? You're more troublesome than if you were a loudmouth woman." That got her to grow a tick mark. "Shut up you lazy baka." And thus Ino momentarily got out of her funk to slap her teammate in the back of the head. "Tisk, you're not very youthful, are you?" Shikamaru blurted out. Silence reigned amongst the teens. Chuji even dropped his potato chip bag in shock and Ino held a hand to her mouth. Let's just get ready." Shikamaru finally broke the silence with a shaky command. With T-Moto. "So we run fast with kin our backs and this horribly heavy scroll before Gaara gets in, right?" Dosu gulped and his friends quickly agreed. "And our mission?" Zaku asked about their believed orders to help Gaara and kill the Uchiha. "Screw that, I don't want to die, we'll just kill him during the month." With firm nods the team started a final bag check, completely unaware their master had been listening the whole time. With the undercover route team. The three emotionally challenged genin, including Danzo Shimura's pet Uchiha that was hidden with a face mask and contacts to make him look like a different root agent who switched with him, were calmly double-checking their bags. Thankfully their female companion was the one bitten and she was a taijutsu specialist anyways. The team was careful not to look at their targets or Orochimaru. It wouldn't do to cast suspicion on themselves so close to their master's goals. "Be ready for anything," Takashi Uchiha, the favorite of Danzo Shimura, ordered. The two others just nodded, mentally prepared themselves. With the Sand Trio. "I will kill for you, mother, all those foolish to pursue us," Gaara cooed to himself. Temari gulped a bit but stopped herself from commenting. As long as they made it to that blasted tower within the 2-day time limit, it didn't matter what her psycho of a brother did. Their mission didn't start until the third round, where Gaara would shower the great village of Konoha in its own blood. With the IWA team. "Remember, get to the tower at all costs. We must make it to the third round and make IWA shine amongst the Konoha scum." The team leader, Hideo, grew up without a father or mother after the fourth Hokage wiped them out with his infamous jutsu, the last massacre before the war ended. He'd been cut out from his mother's dead womb by a dying medic Nin who cradled the babe until the reinforcements arrived, dying with a smile on her face for doing one last act of kindness. The boy grew up amongst hundreds of orphans just like them, most of whom became shinobi as that was the most viable option for clan-less orphans with no funds. All his life Hideo swore he would do everything to make Konoha suffer. Getting to the third round and killing their genin in front of thousands sounded beautiful to his ears. Unfortunately, his other teammates, Mari and Akiko, didn't share his zeal. Mari had actually helped a foreign shinobi in the last round, and the only reason Hideo didn't sneer at her was because it let them pass. He pointedly ignored the voice whispering in his head to let the past go. 30 seconds before the gates opened. All 5 of the mice squads looked pensive, even the one psycho Suna genin squad who were there more for their mission than as actual chunin candidates. The seconds clicked down. At 30 seconds Chuji slipped the oversized scroll on, grunting at the weight. At 25 seconds Ino glanced at the impending forest with fiery eyes and false bravado. At the 15-second mark Hideo sent a hateful glance to the competition. Mari, the member with locked chakra, nervously checked that their other member Akiko had the scroll secured across the back. Team IWA was in it for the win. 10 seconds sparked heartbeats skipping. 5 seconds found every young shinobi and kunoichi with a weapon grasped expertly. 4 seconds. 3 seconds. 2 seconds. 1 second. BRNGG Anko sounded the signal alarm and each gate was thrown open by chunin. Squads bolted through the gates and towards the center, where the outline of a tower could be seen from the clearing. They had 30 minutes to make time, set traps, and pray they could slow pursuers down enough to reach the finish line without confrontations. With Naruto's shoulders tensed involuntarily at the alarm but forced them to relax. Hawk's team along with other ANBU squads were in the forest, clones and radios also on the move for any funny business. As it was tradition for Konoha to have ANBU presence in the forest during the second stage, they could get away with it without alerting Orochimaru. It did help that Dragon confirmed the last Uchiha was a target for marking, through whatever sources the enigmatic ANBU commander had. Ro wouldn't head out until the cats were sent into the dark forest. "Think they'll run into the wasp spiders?" Angel whispered, pointedly pretending she didn't feel Tenzo's cuff on her ear. "No, as long as they don't go the long way around, we did clean out 100 of them that time." Naruto cautiously replied in sign. The blonde was not at all confident in his words but gave the small cat a nice head pat anyways. "It'd be nice if they did though, we could blow through the insects with my beautiful art." Deidara cut in animatedly, idly remolding his clay spiders. Hikaru scoffed. "If they found them though we would be the ones to drag their bloody remains out, trust me it's not worth it." The last time Ro had chunin exam duty we spent 3 nights cleaning out enough leeches and wasp spiders to cart out the genin. The Hyuga had less than fond memories of being covered in buckets of blood on the quest to recover 4 foolish genin squads that had apparently thought to cut through the nesting region on the last day rather than admit defeat. It hadn't ended well for them. With the pursuit squads. All too soon it was the 20-minute mark and the air was thick enough to slice through with Yugao's katana. Each trio began strategizing for what would, hopefully, be a short escapade into the training ground. With Team 7. Kakashi's official and Hikaru's unofficial team were huddled over the provided map. Sakura-san, Duckbutt-san, we should stick to these areas as the leeches are too dangerous to wander towards. Sai pointed to various routes on the map with a pencil. Sasuke ignored the juvenile nickname while studying it closely, Sharingan active. Hey Sai, I was wondering, how do you know so much about this place? Sakura asked, and Sai paused. Memories of long hikes, survival exercises, and clandestine meetings flashed through his head but were expertly hidden by the pale boy. He gave a plain, slightly better than fake smile. Oh, I just read a great deal. We should avoid the IWA, Oto, and Asuma-san's team, as well as that vicious-looking Suna team. Sai advised. Why? I understand about the IWA and Oto teams, but what about the other two? The Ino, Shika, Cho team falls apart as one member is down and that one Suna squad looks weak. The only other team is that young Konoha one, and picking on children wasn't what I wanted in the exams, Sasuke argued. Sakura nodded but listened to Sai's surprisingly adamant rebuttal. Asuma-san's squad is known by the other ones as weak. We'd be fighting several competitors. The Suna squad will be a target due to them being children of the Kazekage. That younger genin team will be an easy target though since they blend in. They will be left alone as no one pays attention to them, giving us the freedom to take their scroll. Here Sai stopped to breathe and Sasuke used the opportunity to take charge. Fine. We'll follow them. Sakura, you will throw up genjutsu and take the scroll before jumping away, I'll knock them out. Sai, you send out ink animals to track them. Already on their person, Duckbutt-san. Sai volunteered with a pleasant smile. Sasuke huffed but continued. We strike and run directly to the tower, with focus we'll reach it before nightfall. 3 sets of eyes locked and fist bumped, camaraderie amongst them strong. I won't let them get hurt, no matter what, Sai mentally promised his friends, not realizing that the younger genin team were all root ANBU. Multiple parties had listened into the conversation, and the reactions were varied. Naruto and Hikaru both smiled with thumbs up at Team 7's willingness to work together. Orochimaru, however. With Orochimaru's team. The legendary snake summoner licked his lips at his future vessel. Oh, how difficult it had been to keep him and his 2 clones from being obvious about their identities while his old apprentice spoke, but it worked, no one suspected his infiltration. All he had to do was waltz into the forest, mark Sasuke-kun while meeting with Danzo's little spy, kill his idiotic subordinates who believed they had the right to abandon their suicide mission, and threaten Konoha into keeping the exams going. Kukukuku, I must hurry though, my job as the Kazekage is very time-consuming. Orochimaru, you sly devil, you must control your urges, after all. Orochimaru mused to himself. Deciding he would first get a scroll for Sasuke-kun, he did want the boy to pass into the 3rd round, after all, the Sannin would then track down his precious future eyes. Orochimaru then felt the familiar flicker of the Kyubi Jinchuriki's chakra that just begged to be experimented on. The Sannin knew taking him before the fated 3rd round and invasion would automatically cause the village to go on lockdown, thus cancelling the exams. Standard procedure village procedure, the same one most of the Great Five followed, dictated that a kidnapped Jinchuriki was a unanimous act of war. Orochimaru would relish starting said war. Just not until he was ready to absolutely crush his former home. Too bad for Naruto that Orochimaru had no qualms about playing with his soon-to-be pet. With Team Kumo, Yuzu Yatsuki and Saki gave Taro a side-eye as he suggested they follow another pursuit team and stake the scroll they steal as they'd be worn out. However, Saki agrees, as it would let Yuzu get to the safety of the tower before it got crazy. She did have it in her best interests to make sure the former Raikage's great-niece didn't kick the bucket from the two Hyuga. It wouldn't be a difficult stretch for them to take out their anger on the only vulnerable relative to the man that caused their clansman's death. Saki wouldn't allow it, however, and thus ignored the other girl's protests, instead messing with her chocolate hair absently. Team 8 and Team 9. Neji glared hatefully at his younger cousin, not at all pleased with the decision from Hayashi-sama that they would stick together for the survival portion of the exam. Of course the main branch would get special treatment. A weakling like you is fated to let others slave away for your own victory. Right, Hinata-sama? Neji mocked Hinata. Lee started shouting about how unyouthfully Neji was acting, but it was Shino who put the branch house heir in his place. Excuse me, Hyuga-san, but do not mock my teammate again or I will not hesitate to call the giant leeches on you. Shino whispered into the older boy's ear, and Neji couldn't help but feel apprehensive. The Hyuga decided to shut up. For now. Yeah, you better shut up, you prick. Or else Akamaru and I will rip you apart. Kiba boasted with Akamaru giving a yip in agreement. Quiet rookie, we're the best Konoha squad here. Ten bit out but then turned to her white-eyed friend. I agree though, you should be nicer while we're in the forest. Pfft, very well then. We attack the IWA scum and the lazy Nara team, they're traveling parallel to each other currently. Ten rolled up her team's map. Alright, what's the battle plan guys? She asked. Neji closed his eyes briefly before staring at them all, the mind of a tactician formulating a strategy. Here is the plan. Aburame, Inazuka, you will travel in the back for tracking and long-range strikes. Ten, you join them, Lee. After the bells sound the alarm. Naruto winced as one of his clones popped right after the alarm from the first wave of squads, specifically the Oto squad. Sound attacks? Interesting, Naruto thought when the genin had called out the name of his attack loudly, aiming at what he thought was a monster but was just a clone messing with them, as per orders. Even animals as vicious as the ones in the Forest of Death rarely attacked unprovoked, so Naruto was there to rile the genin and animals up. 2 days in the forest would be boring otherwise, after all. Follow parallel to Uchiha team, Tenzo ordered and the entirety of Ro shot off, carefully masking their chakra. Naruto used this time to talk to Kurama about their little snake problem. Brat, my roots absorbed the snake's vile negative emotions and intent when he glanced our way. I wouldn't be surprised if he attacked us. The boy ignored the obvious attempt at a plant joke and gave his thoughts. True, but we both know he was planning on it anyways. Nothing's changed. Naruto assured. But Kurama wasn't done. If that flesh bag attacks us I will send enough chakra to obliterate him. After he's done with the Uchiha of course. Kurama added the last part with a bit of glee. Naruto's sweat dropped, avoiding a low-hanging branch. Our mission is to protect Sasuke, not kill him. TSK, you take the fun out of it. But what happens when they see your chains of the tiny kitten? They'll know your identity. Naruto avoided that sore subject. It wasn't just orders that kept him from blurting it out to his former classmates, but his own uncertainty. Despite not being very healthy, he enjoyed the anonymity of being in uniform. No one from the village questioned him or sent him those looks. The couple of times a civilian had spotted the blonde in off-duty clothes, without even his headband, caused him to shun Shin away instantly before the civilian could recognize and thus hate him once more. ANBU was his identity now, and even showing his chunin side to the rookies was difficult to stomach. Sakura, Sai, and Sasuke especially, as he had led them on missions, tortured, trained them, and watched them grow as people. They weren't friends, but they weren't enemies. And to hide the fact he'd always been a higher rank than them was something he planned on keeping for potentially years, if possible. Sai knew, obviously, but the other two didn't need to know. But if it came down to either Naruto letting Sasuke get bitten or hurt or stopping the snake using chains and a Rasengan, there was no contest. He was a Konoha shinobi, and he would protect his comrades. No matter what. 10 minutes later. Kin and Zaku looked behind them while running, feeling bile rise up at their pursuer. Giving each other the look, they nodded their heads. Their master was coming and he was pissed. They wouldn't survive, but they would still try. Dosu sweated when the chakra he'd felt since childhood kept getting closer. It didn't take a chakra sensor to feel Orochimaru's killing intent when it was so focused. Kukuku seemed to echo all around the trio. Snakes shot out from the bark, fangs bared. The beasts ensnared Dosu first, as the boy had tried to summon chakra for a jutsu. The snake was just too fast. Next was Zaku, who vaulted Kin off his back, the kunoichi just feeling the touch of death that was the snake's skin. With no chakra and weak taijutsu compared to Zaku and Dosu, much less their master, Kin knew she was going to die. She collapsed to her knees on a massive tree branch, eyes wide with fear when Orochimaru emerged from a nearby trunk. "Why hello there my pets," Orochimaru greeted silkily. The most notorious traitor to Konoha had the snakes by his side, and the man petted Dosu's headband. Now, like any shinobi village, Oto is not kind to traitors. We're not traitors, Orochimaru-sama. Zaku pleaded. The Sanin's eyes, which once exuded false warmth, turned steely. With practiced ease he ripped Zaku's head off from the boy's shoulders. Now. Anyone else wished to lie to me? Both genin shook their heads vigorously at their master's tone. Good. I'll be taking this. Scroll firmly secured on his back, the Sannin turned away and left. Dosu dropped without ceremony from the viper's grip. Instantly the killing intent dissipated, and Kin relaxed. We didn't die. She breathed. Dosu was recovering his breathing, but both started laughing hysterically, thinking they somehow, for reason unknown, cheated death. That's when a kunai made the world go dark. In the forest, with ANBU Team Ro. It had been 2 hours since the pursuit squads were unleashed, and Sasuke's team was hopelessly lost. The poor genin were not natural trackers, and while Sai's mice were excellent in normal circumstances, their targets were adept at using traps. Naruto watched in amusement as Sakura disabled yet another trip-wire explosive trap that the odd little genin group had set out. Team 17, consisting of a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 10-year-old who had lost her squad last year. Nothing special about them, as their files indicated well-adjusted if slightly socially inept shinobi who graduated early and were simply on the exams to buffer the Konoha numbers. Nobody expected them to make it past the first round, as their sensei assured the Hokage they were more suited for a field promotion and village guard duty. But here they were. And playing with Team 7, Naruto noticed. Hikaru activated his Byakugan momentarily after the next wave of traps led the genin through a thick bog. They know where they're going, but intentionally leading their pursuers deeper into the forest. Hikaru informed the team, much to all of Ro's puzzlement. Are you sure, Baka? Deidara asked even as he unsealed more prepared clay birds. Normal genin, not even those trained by the ANBU these past months, would ever be in a position to know the landscape. Hell, even the squads with the maps were easily duped and led around in circles. Hikaru gasped when his Byakugan caught them using ANBU signs. Taicho, they're signing. They just confirmed that they're leading Team 7 towards the secluded eastern section of Wasp Spiders 4. Hikaru was cut off as the ANBU scattered just in time to avoid being smashed by a summon's body. Naruto used several kawarimi as kunai were thrown, aimed at rather permanent spots, to land to a safe branch 10 meters to the right. Angel was already transformed, and her thick jaws were embedded into the eye of the summons. With a start, Naruto realized it was a snake eye. Shoot! How did Hikaru not sense him coming? Naruto panicked in his head. The boy attempted to, his fist automatically blocked Orochimaru's, who started beating on the boy. Ku, you're quite mousy, aren't you? I have to bend over to fight you. Naruto held his tongue, much to Orochimaru's chagrin. Don't let him get to you, kid, focus, your squad is fighting nearby against another snake summon headed for the Uchiha's team. Kurama cautioned. Not even going to say anything? The Sannin taunted. Chains from Naruto erupted and flew at the Sannin. The man didn't try to block and let his arm be caught, chuckling darkly. What beautiful chains. Now, show me what you can do, Nine Tails. The pair sprang from their branches, Naruto using a shunshin to appear behind the traitor, Rasengan already formed. It connected with Orochimaru's back and the man appeared to blast away, only to twist mid-air and grin. Naruto was yanked towards his foe using his own chains before being punched into a tree with a sickening crunch. Is that all? Is that all the mightiest of the Biju can do, Naruto-chan? Orochimaru insulted. Naruto summoned 100 clones who charged forward with abandon. Their only purpose was to momentarily distract the snake man, who chose upchuck a sword and slashed the horde away, manic smile in place the whole time. Naruto grabbed out his sealing tags, intent on having clones seal him and the bastard inside until his team could come back. From what a shadow clone sent in memories, they were quickly dispatching a giant summon snake, though Deidara was dealing with wasp spiders that decided to poke from their nests. Naruto knew the genin were traitors somehow, piecing together their carefully laid trap for Orochimaru to get to Sasuke and them, and promised to drag them to Ibiki himself when this was over. Naruto looked over towards Angel and couldn't be more proud. With Angel, moments before, when the summoning snake had decided to crash into her team's on-the-go meeting, Angel was out for blood. Every time. She growled as once again she was launched away from her partner. The Hellcat was beginning to wonder if it was fate or all-controlling being that prevent the duo from fighting side by side more often than not. A tree was uprooted and the feline took the opportunity to springboard up, growing to her maximum size. The snake gave her a hungry look, as the thing was over half the size of a boss summons. With hot fury she shot fire into the widening mouth of the snake that expected her to fall in. The jaws clamped down in pain and Angel landed by an eye. Without hesitation she clamped powerful jaws down on the beast, and a loud hiss filled the area. For over a minute the two were in a deadlock. Grrr. Take that. You bastard. She growled triumphantly when she finally ripped the eye out. The snake thrashed and disappeared in a cloud of smoke, leaving Angel to look towards Naruto. What she saw made her blood chill. Back with Naruto. Orochimaru chose that moment of distraction to drop kick from the canopy, and Naruto felt a sick crunch as he was catapulted from his branch towards the floor below. Eyes fluttered closed. I just want to sleep, Naruto foggily thought as he drifted in and out of consciousness. On and on the ANBU fell, Orochimaru following right above, intent on giving the Jinchuriki a beat down. I'll have fun breaking you, you little shit. I'll make you scream like a failure. Like the failure you are. Not even Orochimaru knew why he was being so cruel. He couldn't take the boy yet, but then again the brat was the child of his most hated rival. Meanwhile, Naruto saw his life flash before his eyes, his blood floating in front of his face. I want to be Hokage, to protect everyone. A blonde 8-year-old screamed at school. You? Hokage? Yeah right, you're a failure as even a shinobi. I bet you won't graduate. Kiba Inazuka howled. I'm sorry, Naruto, but you failed. Iruka's pitying looks making the already shaking 12-year-old break inside. You are the nine-tailed fox. Mizuki spat in the clearing. Naruto recoiled. Everything made sense to him, he truly was a stupid demon. Naruto, you pass. Iruka smiled brightly as Naruto hugged him, the boy finally feeling like something was going right. You're a Jinchuriki, a person who holds a tailed beast. That makes you an asset to Konoha, Dragon spoke calmly. Hey, Chibi, Kohai. Let's get going. Naruto, you're a fine shinobi. Sarutobi said with pride when Naruto completed his first aid rank. Hey Naruto, let's spar, I'll teach some more. Cough. Kenjutsu moves while Yugao is away. Hey 8 offered. Tisk, you're alright for a fish cake. You're like a brother to me, Kakashi admitted while the pair had a break from the madness that was training. I never say this, but you're like the little brother I never had, Mouse, Dragon whispered during a quiet meeting. Naruto. Tenzo and Yugao said. Baka, come back soon, Yakumo blushed. Chibi, Kohai / Fuinjutsu, fish cake. Hikaru and Deidara cheered. Never give up Naruto. As your super pervert I demand it. Wake up. The voices blurred together. Wake up, wake up. Wake up. Kurama roared. Suddenly, his body flared with Kurama's usual chakra cloak. Naruto snapped his eyes open and Orochimaru gasped and red silted eyes met his in defiance. Purplish chains, influenced by the tailed beast within, flew in all directions, a large amount aiming right at the Sannin. 3 hit and tore through the bastard's arms. What ensued was a mighty struggle as they fell. Naruto twirled so that he was above, chains still stuck in Orochimaru's arms. Angel chose that moment to vault off a tree and bite the Sannin's head, only to be swatted away by the sword Orochimaru kept in his mouth. Grabbing Angel so she didn't fall, Naruto dangled in mid-air by his chains, heaving with rage as Kurama coursed through his body, threatening to unleash the first tail if Orochimaru still decided to fight. However, the Sannin smirked, and before his body reached the forest floor it melted away into mud. Shit. If that was a clone then. An overwhelming sense of killing intent from the general direction of where Sasuke would be made the Jinchuriki use his pure Shunshin speed to head there immediately, dread filling his foggy mind. With Team 7, earlier. Sasuke knew their target was leading them somewhere, as Sai had pointed out after the weird boy realized they were headed towards something called the wasp spider nests. Sasuke didn't know what those were exactly, but the grim look on Sai's face told him they should head away immediately. Except that they couldn't. Because a giant snake was blocking their path, and the team they were chasing surrounded them. Sakura, who was just beside him, was now unconscious against a tree. The snake barreling through the forest flew her backwards, and Sasuke winced at the large amount of blood their only medic was losing. Stand behind me, Sai urgently ordered, and his super beast scroll summoned 5 lions. The youngest of the ambushers tilted his head. Rice curry, the boy said. Sai stiffened, much to the confusion of Sasuke. Sai, he asked curiously. No, Sai stated firmly, directed at the ambusher who spoke. All 3 stiffened then relaxed. I see. So Master was right, you did turn. No matter, you'll die here. The youngest spoke with an unnatural calm. The air stilled. What the hell? Sasuke shouted when the 3 Konoha shinobi attacked Sai simultaneously, the girl kicking the Uchiha out of the way. Sai jumped onto an ink bird to head away from Sasuke, wishing he could stay with his friends longer. They chased him far away, far enough that Sai couldn't even sense the summon's chakra. This way, he could protect them. Forgive me, but I won't be making chunin with you. Sai thought as his fellow root agents. No, I'm a traitor to them, as the root scum followed him like moths. A battle began, and Sai planned to make it and his death glorious. Super Beast Scroll, explosion, Sai intoned after having several of his ink birds fly too close to the mid-air root Shinobi. They exploded, the explosion seal encoded in them saved him as the foes were forced off his tail for a moment. He let a small smile form when the blast killed one of them, the girl, and blew the arm off of the other boy. Silently thanking Naruto for teaching him how to incorporate an explosion seal into his animals, Sai followed the root Shinobi, jumping off the bird and locking his tanto with the youngest and only intact one of the three in mid-air. Why did you betray Danzo, Sama? And Sai had a deep cut down his torso, jumping back to a trunk before hitting the younger boy with a slice to the gut. I found my will of fire. Sai said simply, and the two locked once more, though it was clear Sai had the upper hand when his opponent coughed up some blood. Thinking he might actually survive the fight, Sai locked gazes with the boy. Then widened his eyes as they met a set of fully matured Sharingan. Takashi Uchiha allowed a vicious smirk to appear amongst his bloody mouth as the traitor looked into his eyes. The young boy had taken out his contacts for battle just so he could shock his opponents. It wasn't something Danzo would approve of, but the traitor was going to die anyways, and he wanted some pleasure out of the experience. Sai cursed inside as the young Uchiha made his eyes spin, and Sai began to lose himself. He knew he was trapped as he felt the hypnotism take root. At least I got two of them, Duckbutt-san, Sakura-san. Kai. Foreign chakra flooded his own, a familiar one that was warm. The pale boy found himself on a branch, staring into the masked face of his second sensei, Hikaru. Hikaru-sensei? Sai asked, bewildered. The ANBU seemed to grin and nod. In the flesh, chibi, now you stay put while I deal with our little friend here. I heard everything. Wait. He has. Sai tried only to be silenced by Hikaru's chuckle. I know, and he'll be finding out why those eyes will never beat the great Hikaru. Takashi knew he was beat. With absolute loyalty, the dog of Danzo prepared the suicide jutsu, building up his chakra. Unfortunately for him, Hikaru effortlessly blocked all his chakra points, knocking him out and ripping the suicide pill from his mouth after some searching. The fight was less than 10 seconds and Sai was in awe of how ruthlessly the man who often played the fool handled the situation. Hikaru noticed his slack-jawed expression and grinned. Nah, cat got your tongue? Same time, with Sasuke. Sasuke was in a bad place. He was rooted to his spot in front of what appeared to be a Kusa, genin, protecting one of his only friends, Sakura. Sasuke, Kun, why don't you show me your power? The Kusa genin chuckled silkily and beckoned. Sasuke stood his ground though. Sai's gone who knows where and this woman shows up with a scroll, why is she attacking us? No, don't think, just protect Sakura. Sasuke thought to himself. He gripped his kunai as killing intent blasted the area, making his heart skip a beat. This PPP power. I've never been so scared, I need to leave. No. Don't move. Sasuke growled to himself. He wouldn't be worse than scum, he'd protect his comrade, to the end. A killing intent filled with more malice entered the clearing and pounced on Sasuke's attacker though. An ANBU agent, around his height, started barraging the Kusa genin with purple chains and a jutsu he recognized all too well. Naruto? Sasuke asked. The slight stiffening of the shoulders told him all he needed to, the giant cat that landed in front of him as a shield giving more proof. His elusive former classmate, the desk chunin, was in ANBU. Well, that shook his day some. With Naruto. When Sasuke said his name, Naruto cursed his stupidity but kept fighting. He knew from what Dragon said, and who knows how Dragon found out, that Orochimaru would attempt to mark the last Uchiha. That couldn't happen. And so Naruto was using his sword to block Orochimaru's, the tongue acting as an arm. Naruto put some distance, now. Not one to question, the blonde used a triad of shunshins to land several meters away, just in time to dodge a newly summoned snake erupting from the ground. Shit, this couldn't get any worse, Naruto cursed. The universe laughed at him as Orochimaru fired off a fire dragon aimed right at the stationed boy. Orochimaru cackled. Ah, so sweet, trying to protect Sasuke-kun from my gift? Well, I guess we'll have to stop that, won't we? Striking shadow hands. 12 snakes from each arm shot out at Naruto. The ANBU slashed at them with his claws before they could reach him, smirking behind his mask as Angel's jaws connected with the Sannin's arm, eliciting a shriek. Fire burned away at the man's body as Angel's fire-coated teeth drew blood. "TSK, I never thought a feline could wound me," Orochimaru spat as he opened his mouth. A fully restored Orochimaru stepped out and everyone else gagged in revulsion. "Why, you're a monster," Sasuke said. "No, I'm perfection. And soon you'll see why, Sasuke-kun." The crazed Sannin laughed and in an instant was inches from Naruto's mask-covered face, hand cocked back. Naruto felt himself flown backwards, Kurama's cloak receding as the blow cut off his concentration momentarily. The Sannin launched his neck at a wide-eyed Sasuke, fangs barred. Angel bit the neck but even crushed the appendage kept stretching. Naruto knew he had to stop it. An idea formed, one so crazy it would fail, and thus he did something incredibly stupid, he used a kawarimi with the still knocked-out Sakura. Now right behind Sasuke as Orochimaru's jaws aimed for the neck, Naruto's ANBU issued arm guards took the fangs, the seal-enforced armor keeping the poison off his skin. Naruto smirked at the absolutely enraged Orochimaru and gave him the finger. "See ya, you bastard," he said and activated a prisoner scroll. Orochimaru couldn't move from a paralyzing seal Naruto had stuck right where the fangs went in. And so, in a puff of smoke, Orochimaru of the Sannin was captured. Naruto looked with half-lidded eyes at Sasuke, smiled at Angel who had just made the remaining snake disappear, and collapsed on his stomach. The ANBU mask that had taken a beating in the last hour finally cracked from the faceplant and slid off. "Naruto," Sasuke breathed. "Yeah, I know. Save it," the blonde winced at his ribs and broken arm being slowly healed, as Kurama's chakra couldn't rush the process. Not when he had pumped 2 tails worth throughout the fight to keep Naruto's body going. "Damn it, don't go to sleep yet, you're in the forest of death." The fox shouted to deaf ears. Naruto grinned slightly and fought the sleep. Suddenly, 4 chakra signatures he knew by heart surrounded him. "Mouse, you're alive," Tenzo spoke, not bothering with hand signs. Naruto snapped awake as he was pulled into a sitting position. Hikaru started healing him while Yugao and Angel brought Sakura back. The girl was beginning to wake up but Yugao pinched her neck, knowing it was for the best. "Wha? How?" Naruto questioned dumbly. His teammates looked like they went through war. Blood, snake venom, and dirt covered them, and Yugao's mask was completely red. Deidara was listless, obviously recovering from wasp spider poison and clutching his arm. "Orochimaru," Tenzo answered. "He planned on separating us, and 2 mud clones along with Manda's second-in-command was there. Add that with the swarm of wasp spiders that Fox fought by himself. We're lucky Fox only has a broken arm and poison." Tenzo trailed off and Naruto nodded. He began recounting the battle, leaving out Kurama, and his squad sputtered at the end. "You mean Yugao began, took on Orochimaru the actual one," Tenzo continued. "And sealed him, Deidara finished." Naruto nodded in trepidation. "The scroll sat nearby against a tree. That I didn't seal. His chakra first, so I don't know how long it will last." Tenzo rubbed his eyes at the mistake even if it was unavoidable and sighed. You're free to go chibi, Kohai." Now let's take these prisoners back," Hikaru said. Only then did Naruto notice Sai and the genin they were following. Sai sat next to Sakura and kept sending Hikaru thankful looks. Figuring he'd find out later, Naruto began walking towards the scroll, figuring they had an hour to get the Sannin to the Jiraiya for better sealing lest the traitor get free. However, just as he reached it, the scroll burned to a crisp and a noted floated down. "My dear pet, sorry to disappoint, but I must not be captured. I will have Sasuke, so don't even try to stop me. Oh, and tell Sarutobi-sensei that if he cancels the exam I'll destroy it before nightfall. Ta, Orochimaru the Awesome." Naruto read the note over and let out a primal roar at his failure. 3 hours later, Forest of Death Tower. Hiruzen Sarutobi listened to the tale of Orochimaru's encounter with more surprise than he thought possible since they knew it would happen. He felt pride well up in his old bones when his surrogate grandson managed to capture the traitor, then gave a reassuring look at the news Orochimaru had used a body switch at the last second before the sealing. By the end, he didn't know what to feel. "I am proud of all of your successes, but now is not the time for rest. You safely shadowed Sasuke and his team here, but there are still dangers in the exams. Rest up for 1 hour before heading out. There is still a day and a half left of this cursed stage. The only mercy was changing it from 5 days to 2 days, God knows I couldn't take that level of stress with these exams," Hiruzen muttered. Ro bowed once before sunshining silently, Naruto still angry at himself. As soon as the ANBU left, Hiruzen turned to his shadow. "Dragon, what of the other competitors?" Hiruzen asked. Dragon chuckled. "Well Hiruzen, I think you'll be quite amused. Oh? Let's just say Anko's little drug gave the Nara a new outlook on life. I don't even want to know. Now, let's discuss this Uchiha that young Hikaru brought in as a lovely present. Takashi Uchiha. I used to change his diapers," Dragon commented wistfully. "With Shikamaru's team, earlier. Now remember team, we must run quickly to show our flames of youth." Shikamaru yelled as he used more energy to glide across the forest than he used in his entire life combined. Ino looked at her friend in horror, as did Chuji, but they didn't say anything out of fear of what happened last time they tried. They knew they were being pursued by 2 teams, and Ino decided to be the reasonable one when they found themselves surrounded by teams 8 and 9. Here. Just take it," the girl offered. Tenten looked offended but Lee reached for it. However Shikamaru ruined it. "Ino. Quit being so unyouthful." And thus, Shikamaru and Lee locked eyes. A battle would happen, and the flames of youth ignited. Finally, with Danzo, that night. Danzo Shimura looked at the dead, root agent, glad the boy was merely dying when that soft Hyuga left him. The failure of an agent reported as medics began bandaging the stump of an arm. "And then he left me for dead, Danzo-sama," the Hyuga said. "I will not kill you myself but watch your light fade from your eyes. I must have blacked out and my heart rate slowed due to blood loss. I woke up here, Danzo-sama." Danzo pondered everything he was told. The seal prevented any traitorous speech, he hoped, at least, so all that mattered was recovering Takashi. "I'll get him during the invasion. Now it's time to have a little chat with Orochimaru. From what my spies are saying, the fool is wanting the weapon for himself. That simply won't do. Konoha's Jinchuriki is mine, even if he doesn't know it yet." Turning impassively to his now useless agent who wasn't worth a prosthetic, the darkness of Shinobi sliced the boy's throat. "Your blood watered the great tree, a fitting death," Danzo sneered and walked out of the medical bay. He had a coup to plan. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. Guys, make sure to help the author by visiting the link in the description. This is Fox Sage, and I'm signing off.